Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto refused to use Kurama's power and rely on his own part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. You disgust me, Sasuke, how could you? You don't get to judge me, Naruto. You died. You left. I did what I had to. Yeah, I'm sure they told you it was the only way. Uzumaki Naruto looked into the flower-patterned eyes of a man he once called his best friend, and he couldn't recognize what returned his gaze. The darkness swirling behind Sasuke's eyes almost unnerved him. He felt like he was staring into the abyss. His red coat swayed in the wind as he made a hand seal and popped one of his clones, and the invigorating force of nature chakra ignited his body. I'm taking you back to Konoha. I'm not going back, Sasuke. You idiot, you're a wanted man. Dead or alive. And I'm the only one trying to drag your ass back alive. I have a promise I intend to keep, so get out of my way. That's why you're here, right? For her? They were in the outskirts of Takigakure no Sato, the village hidden in the waterfalls, amidst a vast forest where either of them was welcome. Naruto was an international criminal at this point, and Konoha's shinobi had no business trespassing on yet another hidden village. This could spark a war. A moment of silence passed between the two as they each took a deep breath. A strange sense of understanding formed between them that this conflict would end in no other way but violence, and they prepared themselves for what seems like the 100th time they've fought. However, this time, it felt different. Each of them had taken vastly differing paths leading to this point, and they could trace the transformation those paths have led them through. Rival. Friend. Brother, enemy. No more words were exchanged as the air around them seemed to shift, and Naruto's right arm flared to life in a brilliant display of blue chakra. They charged at each other. Sasuke could see an afterimage of younger Naruto running at him, wearing a Chunin vest just like old times, line up with the flying kick this Naruto threw at him. He always was the one to go on the offensive and start their spars off with a bang. Why would this time be any different? Sasuke let the kick fly by as Naruto rotated midair to transfer his momentum into a roundhouse. Sasuke deflected with his forearm, reinforcing it with his other hand, and aimed a side kick right at Naruto's head. Naruto blocked with his left forearm in a mirror image of Sasuke's earlier move, but a clone sprung to life right beside him. Sasuke's Sharingan zipped across to the clone, leaving a trail of red light, easily reading the telegraphed haymaker thrown his way. Sasuke fluidly ducked under the punch to swivel into an elbow strike, leaving the clone staggered while the original jumped over his clone. Naruto brought down an axe kick right onto Sasuke's head, which Sasuke had to guard with both his arms, straining against the force. Sasuke barely had time to blink before 3 more clones seamlessly formed from thin air, trapping him in their circle. Sasuke quickly pushed Naruto's leg away as he sped through several hand seals. Doton, Doryuso. Earth release, earth flow spears. Sasuke yelled as multiple spikes shot out to impale his enemies, and one clone was too close to dodge as the spear went right through him. The original jumped backwards, forming a Rasengan, spiraling sphere, in his hand, while the other 2 clones maneuvered through the spikes, substituting with each other to evade the tricky ones. One of the clones was eventually impaled, but the other finally managed to get close enough. Sasuke only spared him a glance, making direct eye contact as his Manjikyu Genjutsu made the clone freeze in place. However, Naruto substituted with his clone, appearing right in front of Sasuke with the lethal sphere raring to go, pumping even more chakra into the jutsu. Urama Rasengan. The ball of chakra tripled its size in an instant, and Sasuke only had enough time to form the purple ribs of his Susanoo to take the brunt of the attack. It shattered as he was sent flying off to the side. Sasuke quickly regained his bearings as he conjured the arms of the ethereal Susanoo, and one arm dug into the ground to stop his momentum. However, Naruto was relentless in his pursuit as he formed 4 other clones and shunshined into Sasuke's trajectory. His other skeletal arm clenched its fist as the massive hand swung to meet the legion of Naruto's, and the clones focused their chakra and blocked the arm, straining to push against it and hold it in place. The original jumped off of his clone's back and charged forward once again with an equally massive Rasengan. Sasuke quickly dissipated his arms to free them from the clone's grasp, as he began his descent to the ground. Within an instant, the arms materialized once again to block the incoming Rasengan. Naruto watched as the arms working together managed to bear the full force of his Urama Rasengan as it dissolved, which left him open to Sasuke's devices. Amaterasu. The black, undying flames raced to him, its scorching heat already singing the air around him before he even had a chance to process what was happening. A quick substitution with one of his clones allowed him to escape unscathed, as the clone burned alive for a second before dispelling. Those flames are no joke, Naruto thought. If that hits me, it's over. Let's kick it up a notch, then. Naruto's clones dispelled as he made the corresponding hand seal, and he took a deep, calming breath. Sasuke wasted no time in his next move. He wasn't one to idly watch as his opponent gathered more power. His Susanoo gathered insane amounts of energy. Its skeletal form seemed to grow a chakra skin before yet another layer of chakra covered it. The fully matured Susanoo was a fearsome sight, its eyes glowing with a deadly purple glint, as the ephemeral being gathered an arrow of chakra into its bow-like weapon. The chakra condensed into a dark purple arrow that shot forward in blinding speeds, while Naruto was still rooted in his spot. Just at the last second, Naruto opened his eyes as he cancelled the force of the arrow with a well-timed chakra expulsion of his own. Naruto channeled yang chakra from the symbol on his left hand, mixing it with his sage chakra, as he reversed the shape transformation Sasuke had used to form the chakra arrow. The chakra from Sasuke's technique dissipated harmlessly in the air before spiraling into Naruto's open palms, where two purple Razengans formed. Did he just? Sasuke was speechless as Naruto managed to pull off the impossible. While Sasuke had focused on learning hundreds of jutsu from Kakashi to make him the most versatile fighter possible, Naruto had just figured out the one technique to make it all moot. Frustrated, it was then that he noticed Naruto's eyes had shifted once again. The horizontal slit of his last form had transformed back into a round black pupil with an orange iris. This still feels like Sage mode, but it's different from before. In this form, he can essentially cancel transformations of chakra back into just chakra. Naruto closed his eyes. Sasuke's pesky genjutsu was still a problem, as he allowed his sensory field to expand, and he could feel this enormous bubble of chakra around him where he was aware of everything within it. All that's left is to figure out a way into that ethereal chakra beast, and he's damn sure it can be destroyed. It's over, Sasuke. Blood splattered along the edge of the photograph. Bright red arc soared through the air, besmirching, tainting every corner of a place so dear to him, his home. A stray rivulet landed on the confident smirk of the one he was closest to, the older brother he wished he had. The candles around the personal little shrine his Obasan had built cast the room in a vermilion light, reflecting off the blood. Uzumaki Naruto found himself face to face with a masked man, the swirls of that godforsaken orange mask, taunting him in the darkness. He could not discern the man's face, but he could see the sneer clear as day. What was going on? Obasan? Looking down, he was met with the unresponsive body of his aunt, and for a frightened moment, Naruto was hit with a wave of pure, unadulterated panic. He traced the spurts of blood still slowly leaking out of her body, as the man watched with detached focus. He plucked the tanto out of her body with a swift tug, turning her body towards him. She was smiling. A smile of a weary widower, whose only purpose in life was snatched away at the hands of power-hungry men, as that was often the case in her clan. Her son would never take his own life. What did you? His voice sounded alien to his ears, some sad, pathetic excuse for a snarl, fueled by something demonic writhing within him. The red eye in the mask gleamed in the dark, perfectly matching the crimson of the room, and Naruto felt something within him snap. Power raced through him in the form of fiery red energy. His tear-stricken face suddenly transformed into one of hatred, screaming as he truly felt himself let go. Uzumaki Naruto's eyes blinked open as he let his mind wander in its groggy state. The hospital trip after that incident was excruciating. His childlike body was not equipped to handle the sheer force of the demonic energy. Not only did his body seem to be on fire every waking moment, he could feel it. Every single negative emotion of the people around him, malicious thoughts creeping into his mind and distorted whispers snarling in his ears. The third Hokage had no choice but to let Naruto in on the truth. A Jinchuriki. A weird sense of vertigo hit him when the third Hokage had indulged him with this information. The world seemed to shift upside down as the Hokage went on to explain the difference between a scroll and a sealed kunai, but Naruto couldn't really focus on his words. He could vaguely understand where the Hokage was going with this, but he could feel everything. His grandfather figure's words seemed meaningless in the face of that. His world seemed to shift again, turning right side up as the puzzle pieces began to click into place. Why people looked at him the way they do. Why it seemed like he was shunned for simply existing. Why nobody wanted anything to do with him. The first time he walked outside, he couldn't handle it. The atmosphere around him was suffocating, as dark thoughts began to race inside his mind. The whispers got louder ever so slightly, producing a high-pitched whine. He looked at someone's eyes and felt every single emotion within this random person. Wrath, disgust, the ringing grew louder, fear, and a vague sense of regret all seemed to swallow him whole as he felt like he was drowning in the abyss. And when did the ringing get so loud? Naruto jolted awake from his sleepy haze. Been a while since I've had that dream. He shook off any lingering feelings of grogginess and pulled himself off the bed. He had somewhere to be. Naruto had passed the graduation test with the help of a certain forbidden jutsu, and he was officially a shinobi. Today, the graduates were supposed to be assigned their teams. His reputation for being dead last was a distant memory as he gradually climbed up the ranks in the class over the years. Thinking back on it, the aftermath of that night seemed to change so much. Stepping in the bathroom, he went through his daily ritual to get ready. He quickly put on his clothes, dark blue pants and a white shirt paired with an orange and black jacket, A/N, Shippuden jacket but unzipped. Before long, he came face to face with his fridge only to find nothing inside. He had forgotten to go grocery shopping. An annoyed grunt later, he was rummaging through his cupboards, and he found 2 old packs of ramen gathering dust. He grew out of his fondness for the food slightly, as there were better options when you could hinge, transformation, into another little boy and get regular prices. I suppose I should celebrate becoming a genin, huh? A dry chuckle escaped his lips as he seemed to enjoy the nostalgia of it all more than the taste. He grabbed his Walkman, it drowned out the voices, before heading out. Shrouded in the fog of early morning, the sun blinked on the horizon, and Naruto turned a tired eye downwards. He turned the volume up for good measure, eyes never leaving the ground, inspecting for a single speck interesting enough to distract him. A shopkeeper recognizes his presence. The insistent whine came back to his life, the chime of a demented, old friend. Something within the surrounding villagers shifted, a wave of acknowledgement, so to speak, flowing through the crowd until all eyes lied on him. Every single person's thoughts, the things held close to the chest, bursting forward alongside the brutal, ugly truth. Many despised him, cursing him in some misguided attempt to make the demons suffer as they have, while others feared him. A child raced across his path, reaching for his ball. A small subset of Konoha, the ones too young to know, and even smaller, the ones who made their peace with it, looked at him with confusion or regret. These emotions caused the loudest whines of all, and Naruto winced as he hurriedly broke eye contact with the young one. Even after all this time, Naruto would still try to implore, urging his ability to do above and beyond what it was capable. He wanted to truly see the complexity of their emotions, chasing down the rabbit hole of his reality from an outside perspective. Get away from him, boy. The child's mother locks her arm on her son, dragging him to her side. Naruto trudged up to the shopkeeper, careful not to make any sudden movements while the crowd, save for a few, eventually began to go back to what they were doing, and he let out a small sigh of relief. How much for the apple, Asen? 20 real. The man spoke in a clipped tone. Miyazaki-san was one of the very few vendors who saw him for what he was, a customer, nothing more, nothing less. As such, Miyazaki-san would never say anything beyond what was necessary for the transaction. As Naruto handed the bill to him, he motioned for the blonde to take his chosen apple with a wave of his hand, and that was that. Naruto felt no emotions from the man, nothing he could discern as he came to learn his ability was purely geared to the dark thoughts of an individual. He could never feel anything akin to someone's happiness, the shrill of his curse too loud for anything of the sort. Taking a large bite, Naruto took to the rooftops and headed towards the training grounds beside the academy. He was improving the only he could. He did not have access to clan techniques like the rest of his peers. All he had was the Academy 3, the Bunshin, Kawarimi, and Henge. Naruto would not let that deter him, however, the burden of his existence fueling the furious discipline that drove his every second on the training grounds. Naruto did not believe that the sheer number of your arsenal was the key to victory. Rather, it was the aptitude of the skills you do have that makes one great. And so, he had worked himself into the ground, demanding excellence. No, he had demanded perfection. A makeshift slingshot he had put together with some boulders and resistance bands threw 10 body-sized logs up into the air. Naruto concentrated within himself, flashing from one log to the next, a spatial view of the circle around him in his mind's eye. It had taken him years to master substituting himself with a target in motion, having to predict where the object will be while outlining the shape of his own body in that moving space. He soared to the top of the logs and hinged into a light but sturdy rug, fluttering in the wind as he gently made his descent, dispelling it as he came close to the ground, confidently landing on his feet. His unique trump card was the ability to transform into something with substance, a skill that was exceptionally rare in this world. Finally, he turned to the open field and focused on creating a single bunshin, and was sorely disappointed when a disease-ridden version of himself collapsed to the ground. He gave out a sigh of resignation, pumping up his chakra to controllable levels as 9 perfectly healthy Bunshin greeted him. Still can't make any less than 9. Naruto muttered. My chakra control needs to be better. He created a dozen Kage Bunshin and got to work. An hour later he was pounding his fists into a log, eyes murderous as the pent-up trauma suddenly hit him in the middle of his chakra control exercises. Idle activities like tree walking let his mind wander. The ugly whisper of the whine of his curse returned to his ears, as Naruto found himself picturing a night, not too long ago, when everything had just piled up and he needed an escape and he just couldn't think. An image of a shiny razor flashed in his head. Naruto screamed a battle cry as the log broke in half, his bloodied fists sending powerful pain signals to his brain, and Naruto grunted as he lined the next log up. He kept at his pace, even measured punches as the dull thwack of the wood lulled Naruto into autopilot. The pain of his bloody knuckles helped as well, however marginally, and Naruto found himself centered again. From the corner of his eye, Naruto eyed the time on the village clock tower. He would have to go back for graduation soon, so might as well break a leg. Naruto made it to the academy with time to spare as he leisurely took a window seat near the corner of the room. Surveying his future comrades, he was not surprised to see his rival Uchiha Sasuke already waiting for the next part of their lives. Naruto and Sasuke have had a fierce rivalry going throughout his academy years, as he was the only one in their class who could beat him in a spar. While Sasuke would win the vast majority, Naruto could still pull off a win in every 5 battles, and they garnered a mutual respect towards one another. Sasuke was swift and cunning, every measured blow designed to incapacitate with numerous counters in between. Naruto was an unpredictable whirlwind. His body, naturally stronger due to the demonic chakra, complemented his reckless ingenuity. He was brought out of his musings as Ino and Sakura burst into the room with their usual vigor, much to the annoyance of everyone present. Get your big-ass forehead out of the way. I was here first, pig. You get out of my way. All right, shut up. Yumino Iruka bellowed as he entered the room. A sense of pride flowing through him, Iruka surveyed the kids he had molded for this very moment. These kids were certainly a troublesome bunch to teach, but he could see the vast potential present in this room. He could tell some of these children were destined for greatness, whether they were ready for it or not. At this point, he could only hope he had done enough. Naruto found himself tuning out Iruka's graduation speech, resuming staring out the window. Iruka had tried to break through his shell at one point, determined to give his student a chance, Jinchuriki or not. However, Naruto was far too jaded at this point, and he was still recovering from the fallout of finding out just what he was. He had come to the conclusion to not get close to anyone. They would never accept him once they knew the truth. Still, he acknowledged Iruka as one of the few good ones. I will now announce the cells for this year's graduating class. Listen closely, for these people will be your comrades for the foreseeable future. Iruka announced. Team 1. Naruto noted that piece of information and turned back to his window. He would keep an ear open for any interesting teams. Team 7, Haruno Sakura, Inuzuka Kiba, and Uchiha Sasuke led by Hatake Kakashi. Sakura let out something in between a shriek and a squeal as she roared in victory, while Kiba seemed mildly annoyed he would have to be in the same team as the Uchiha. Sasuke, on the other hand, let out a slow sigh of resignation. Team 8, Abirame Shino, Akimichi Tsuji, and Hyuga Hinata led by Yohi Kurinai. Shino remained impassive as ever, only bringing his head down to nod towards his teammates. Hinata seemed frightened at the spotlight and gave a meek smile towards both of them. Tsuji greeted them with an accepting nod as he was bummed out Shikamaru wasn't on his team. Team 9 is still in circulation. Team 10, Nara Shikamaru, Yamanaka Ino, and Uzumaki Naruto led by Sarutobi Asuma. Shikamaru muttered troublesome under his breath as he surveyed his teammates. Ino was annoyed at being paired with a lazy bum and apprehensive of the enigma that was Naruto. Naruto took it in stride as he inspected his teammates. Before he could muse any further, their Jounin sensei motioned for them to follow him as he walked out the door. They remained relatively silent as they followed their Jounin sensei to a nearby park. Finding a nice circular bench for them to all sit on, Asuma proceeded to light a cigarette as he truly examined the kids his dad had assigned him. As he looked over Naruto, the words of the third Hokage echoed in his mind as let out a smooth exhale. The Hokage truly seemed torn at how things went down between them, explaining to Asuma what their relationship once was like. The young boy had once looked at him as if he were a grandfather, with the affectionate little nickname to boot. When everything was simpler, and the Sandaime felt like he was doing right by Minato, or at least, the very best he possibly could. There's a reason I assigned you to be his Jounin sensei. I've made a mess of things, and the only person that I can trust to look after Naruto is you, my son. Didn't Kakashi want him? Yes, but Naruto really needs some emotional support right now, and I don't think Kakashi is the best for the job. He spared Naruto a second glance before moving on to the rest of his squad. He could take one look at Shikamaru's bored, sleepy drawl and tell what kind of lazy brat he was. Knowing who his father was though, he had no doubt the boy was extraordinary. He just had to motivate him enough. Ino, on the other hand, seemed like a girl lost in her own head, prioritizing the shallow things in life over what really matters. He needed to channel her drive into more productive avenues. Alright guys, I guess we should start by introducing ourselves. Likes, dislikes, dreams for the future, that sort of thing. I'll get us started and pass it along to Ino. He took another drag and leaned back slightly before continuing. My name's Asuma Saratobi. I like cigarettes and good food, and nothing beats a soba tororo when it comes to that. I guess if I had to pick something I really hate, it'd be asparagus. A dream, huh? Asuma pondered. Been a while since I thought about something like that. I want to start a family. The last part took the newly minted genin by surprise. Shinobi generally had a much more career or status-oriented goal, and their sensei didn't seem like the type, at least based on appearances. After a short pause, Ino smiled at everyone. My name is Yamanaka Ino. I like flowers and Sasuke-kun, and I hate all the floozies after him, especially forehead. My dream is to marry Sasuke-kun and become the clan head. She followed up with a wink and a pose at the end. Right, well, the name's Nara Shikamaru. I like watching clouds and playing shogi. I hate things that are troublesome, and my dream is to one day be an average shinobi, making an average living. I'd marry a regular girl who's not super pretty or ugly, have 2 kids, and retire early. Naruto couldn't help but smile at his antics. He hadn't changed a bit over the years. Turning his attention to everyone, he gave them a grin. He was well aware that his true intentions were not something that he could disclose to anyone, let alone Konoha Shinobi. Despite his naturally honest nature, Naruto had been forced to swallow the bitter pills of life at a very young age. No one was on his side, and without some sacrifices, there would be no victory. Thinking over his answers, Naruto's mind stopped at the final question, his dreams for the future. The blonde knew the answer to that question all too well. When he was younger and still blissfully ignorant, he had sought out acknowledgement above all else. His young mind could not accept that all these people burned with hatred at his mere presence. Before he could feel what the villagers felt at the sight of him, he felt woefully ignored. Now, however, he had his fair share of acknowledgement. He was sick of it. His single-minded purpose was the only thing that had pushed him this far and kept him sane despite everything he had experienced. What he wanted more than anything was freedom. Freedom from the shackles that Konoha had placed on him. Freedom to live a life of obscurity, as Naruto Uzumaki, not the Jinchuriki of the nine-tailed fox. And the freedom to choose his own path. But they were not just going to let him leave. And so, he would hide behind the only way he knew how. He smiled. I'm Uzumaki Naruto. I like gardening, listening to music, and training, and one of the things I really dislike is when people look down on others. And Naruto paused as he contemplated his final answer, tapping a finger to his chin for effect. I guess I don't really have a dream. Trailing off at the unusual remark, Naruto felt 3 pairs of eyes focus on him as a stilted silence overtook them for a moment. Shikamaru didn't even mutter his usual catchphrase even though it was obvious he was thinking it. Naruto could feel Ino's eyes burning holes into the side of his head. She had expected him to blurt out something obnoxious like he would become Hokage one day, even though he has not said anything of the sort for quite some time now. He supposed that really was the nature of their relationship, and he did not feel the need to clear up any misunderstandings people had about him. Asuma took a moment and drew some sort of conclusion, as his drags were noticeably longer than usual. These kids were certainly bound to cause a lot of headaches for him in the future, if they passed the test, of course. The short silence was broken when Asuma decided to let the would-be genin in on the secret. I know this might come as a bit of a shock to you guys, but technically, you guys are not genin just yet. Normally, they are required to pass an additional test that is given to them by their jounin sensei the next day. Failing the test is a one-way trip back to the academy. He closed his eyes as the usual insults and death threats were thrown at him, unsurprisingly all of which came from the platinum blonde of the team. He could not help but chuckle as his eyes trailed to the skeptical look on Naruto's face as his eyes closed to resemble a fox. Asuma also did not fail to notice that Shikamaru had been watching him like a hawk, waiting for the next piece of information to be imparted to him. But I don't feel like waiting till tomorrow, so we're going to just get this show started. Asuma paused to light out his cigarette and drop it into a spare pack. He prided himself on being very environmentally conscious. Meet me at Training Ground 10. The newly formed squad could only blink as Asuma disappeared in a plume of smoke. They mindlessly tracked the leaves from the Shunshin body flicker technique as they processed the recent revelations. So, was the graduation test just a sham? Ino exclaimed, very ticked off. Stop your screaming, troublesome girl. Shikamaru spoke in a dry tone. Stop calling me that, Shikamaru, or you're going to regret it. Fine. Would you prefer nagging, bitch? Shikamaru didn't miss a beat, prompting an angry huff from said girl. Are you two like this all the time? Naruto interjected, clearly amused. Yes. Ino and Shikamaru chorused. Shikamaru took a deep breath and continued, we should head over there soon. I don't want to keep him waiting. Anyone know where Training Ground 10 is? Ino questioned. Yeah, let's go. By the time the genin arrived at the training ground, it seemed like Asuma had been there for quite some time. He raised an eyebrow and shot them a smile when he noticed them approaching, seemingly in a good mood. He knew this test was a bit extreme, and he did not expect the team to actually pass it. He had based it off of the bell test, but added his own little spin to it. He looked up at the clouds and wondered if his dad was watching. Alright kids, the test is actually pretty straightforward. Asuma stopped to pull out a new cigarette from his pack, and placed it in between his lips. I want you guys to try to knock this cigarette out of my mouth. Naturally, you'd only have until I'm done smoking it. In the interest of fairness, I won't use ninjutsu, genjutsu, or any weapons. Deal? He did not wait for their response as he pulled out his lighter and started to light the cigarette. Shikamaru could tell time was of the essence. They didn't have very long. However, they needed a plan. The three of them rushing in blind and hoping to win a taijutsu bout against a jounin was a fool's errand. Naruto. Ino. We need to group up and make a plan. Shikamaru barked, seemingly flipping a switch from his usual self. The two of them nodded as they followed Shikamaru to a nearby tree. They eyed Asuma warily as he seemed to just smile and leaned into the tree behind him, clearly having no intention of chasing them. Alright, I think our best bet is for me to get him under my shadow imitation jutsu, and I can extend my shadow from the tree he's leaning on. Since he's just waiting for us, we should attack from different angles to corner him, and I can try to sneak behind him while you two distract him. Shikamaru started laying out the chess pieces in his mind's eye as he thought out loud. I don't think I'd be useful up close, but I can definitely get him to move. He has to dodge my mind-body switch technique, or it's game over. Ino tried to build on Shikamaru's plan. Yeah, I won't be able to land clean shots on him, but I can definitely force him into a corner. Naruto finished off the plan. Noticing his teammates' inquisitive looks, a confident grin overtook his features. Trust me. Hey! That bastard's taking longer puffs than usual. Shikamaru noticed suddenly. Naruto quickly threw a couple of shuriken at Asuma to stop him from smoking, which Asuma ducked under. The shuriken embedded into the tree with a dull thunk, and Asuma had an amused grin on his face. You brats really need to hurry up, you know. I smoke these pretty quick. Asuma casually let them know, taking his longest drag yet. Ugh, I hate smokers. Ino couldn't hide the disgust on her face. Okay, so I'm going to make my way over there as stealthily as I can. Shikamaru pointed to a nearby tree that had the largest shadow. Ino, head all the way east and use your jutsu. Naruto, wait for her and then strike. They nodded towards each other and scattered. As he slowly walked to the center of the clearing, Asuma was patiently waiting for his cute little genin. He saw no point in chasing them around. He thought the bell test was a bit too tough for kids fresh from the academy. A new team would always have trouble meshing and get caught up in the you versus me mentality. They would more often than not miss the point entirely and never even work together, but Asuma was more interested in the potential for teamwork over an elaborate game of shadows with some kids. It is already expected of them to work together, and Asuma can truly get a gauge on how well this squad would mesh in the field. The shinobi world itself will eventually teach them the lesson of looking underneath the underneath. Plus, they get a quick time constraint, which makes things more interesting. Also, I control this constraint by just enjoying a cigarette. Asuma thought to himself, nodding sagely. Innovation. Asuma was brought out of his musings when he finally noticed some movement to his right. He turned around to see Ino making the trademark hand seal for the Yamanaka clan jutsu. Shintenshin no Jutsu. Mind-body switch technique. Asuma moved to the side to avoid her technique, eyes already darting around to spot Naruto. To his surprise, he was met with a small army of Narutos charging at him. However, he couldn't hide his shock when he noticed that these were not regular bunshins, as they had a shadow and seemed to be made of substance. How the hell does he know the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu? Shadow Clone Technique. Asuma quickly dispelled the first two clones as they threw reckless haymakers. Four more took their place as Naruto seemed to be unrelenting in his assault, slowly pushing him back. After he dispelled a couple of clones, one of the Narutos finally blocked his attack and countered, which Asuma had to block, leaving his forearm ringing. Geez, this kid hits like a goddamn truck. At least I know which one's the real you now. One of the clones propelled himself off of the original's back as he soared over Asuma and landed behind him. At the same time, two of the clones flanked his two sides, one coming high and the other coming low. Asuma spun on his heel as he stuck out his elbow and his leg, hoping to dispel the two clones at his sides in one swift move. However, the clones substituted with each other, their opposing positions allowing them to dodge Asuma's first strike. They were just about to converge on Asuma as he kept his composure and continued spinning, flowing with his momentum as he transitioned into a spinning handstand kick. The three clones were dispelled as Naruto took the hit right on the chin. As Naruto was flying back, Ino saw her chance. As soon as Asuma got back on his feet, he heard her shout, "Shintenshin no Jutsu." Asuma jumped backwards to dodge, and he finally noticed the third player make his entrance. Kagame no Jutsu. Shadow Imitation no Jutsu. Extended by the tree's shadow, Shikamaru's technique zipped towards the point at which Asuma would have to land. However, his shadow could not catch him as Asuma seemed to blur past his grasp as soon as he landed. Shikamaru let out an annoyed tch. His technique was still too slow. The remaining clones and Ino charged Asuma to buy some time as Naruto put his hands together in the familiar clone seal. A dozen more clones joined the fight as Asuma seemed to slow down ever so slightly. Asuma was inwardly flabbergasted as he actually felt like he was breaking a sweat. Naruto had a very unique style of using copious amounts of clones and substituting with them to form unique openings in the fight. Not to mention blocking his hits always left an impression on his muscles. He cursed as he had to jump away from Shikamaru's shadow, right into Ino's line of sight, which then pushed him towards the dozen more clones Naruto just created. To ramp up the pressure, Asuma decided to stop defending and start going on the offensive. His eyes narrowed as the calm laid-back persona vanished, and the three genin could feel the subtle shift in the air. Asuma charged into the small platoon of Naruto clones that were in front of Ino. "Let's see how you guys adapt when I go after the weak link." He cut through the clones like a hot knife through butter, bobbing and weaving in between flurries of punches, kicks, and the occasional headbutt. Every move seamlessly transitioned into the next, as a punch turned into an elbow strike into a roundhouse. Clouds of smoke began to cover the battlefield as the clones were getting dispelled too fast for Naruto to count. He shook off the slight headache as he gathered a massive amount of chakra. Tajua Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Mass Shadow Clone Technique. Asuma almost dropped his cigarette in shock as he witnessed this child summon forth 100 or so clones, stopping any progress Asuma got on Ino. How much juice does this kid have? Asuma looked down at the cigarette to see it was just about done. He supposed he could get like 5 or so puffs out of it before it finished. He did not want to taste any filter. All any of you have accomplished is stalling for time. This cig's just about done, so you guys gotta hurry up, Asuma warned them. Naruto and his army of clones gave out one last battle cry as they charged, while some of the clones laid back and formed pairs. These clones proceeded to grab onto their counterpart, and they started spinning to build momentum while the other was whirled around in the air. Their partners were launched forwards as multiple Narutos flew towards Asuma like homing missiles. Asuma resumed his dance of maneuvering his way through the sea of clones that was aided by Shikamaru and Ino's techniques, always in an advantageous position so that the missile clones were in fact a hindrance to the regular clones. After a flurry of movement, Asuma backed up a bit to regain his bearings as he suddenly noticed a Naruto appearing in his blind spot right behind him. Shikamaru was shocked when he realized that one of the shuriken Naruto had thrown earlier in the day, when they were still planning, turned out to be a clone in a henge. Asuma was not shocked for long as he quickly spun around to punch the clone. The clone still wasn't fast enough. However, instead of his hand passing through smoke, Asuma was surprised when his fist made clean contact with Naruto's gut. Bracing for impact, Naruto grunted as he grabbed Asuma's arm and held him down. "You substituted into a hit?" "Shikamaru! Ino! Now!" Naruto yelled, gritting his teeth. The haze of darkness that was Shikamaru's trademark jutsu dashed across and enveloped Asuma's shadow. The army of clones dogpiled on Asuma, preventing him from breaking the shadow's control. Ino ran up to Asuma and took the cigarette from his mouth, flashing her team a radiant smile. "We did it! We're genin now, right?" "Right." Ino studied Asuma's expression warily. She was not sure how much more her heart could take. Yeah, you can let me go now. Asuma knew he could have broken out of Shikamaru's jutsu, but he decided not to. He knew when he was beaten, and part of him was excited that he would get to work with the sort of team that came up with a plan like that. Perhaps always forming an Ino Shikacho squad was a bit too narrow-minded. Naruto brought his own skills into the equation that complemented them, dare he say it, even better than the unique skills of the Akimichi. The third slot in the Ino Shikacho formation brought in the firepower to complement the deadly yet supportive skills of the Narao and Yamanaka clans, so a person with even more raw power would be a terrific fit. You guys are officially Team 10. Asuma finished with a smile as the squad celebrated. Ino, can I have the cigarette back? She stomped it out on the ground and stuck out her tongue at Asuma, while Naruto and Shikamaru just grinned. Asuma responded in kind by lighting another one. Those things are gonna kill you, sensei, Ino said in a condescending tone. While you guys did pass the test, there's still plenty of stuff for you guys to work on. Asuma began in a serious tone. Shikamaru, I assume you came up with the plan. One major flaw I can think of is the setup. If I chose to attack Ino instead of letting her jutsu corner me to where you two were waiting, she would be left all alone to fend me off while you guys would have to give up your positions to race towards me. Shikamaru accepted the criticism with a quiet grace. I'll do better next time. Also, you need to build your taijutsu skills to make you a more versatile fighter, Asuma concluded, as he paused to take another puff. Ino, there is no doubt your jutsu is deadly, but not only is it way too slow, but you also lack any other supplementary skills. You and Shikamaru will be working with me a lot to add more pieces to your fighting styles. Ino lowered her head before giving him a determined nod. Yes, sensei. He paused to consider Naruto for a moment. Naruto, you lack finesse. You fight like a brute, and it works because this style affords you a certain luxury in that regard. Sheer numbers coupled with creative uses of the henge and the kawarimi is a style that has loads of potential if you knew what you were doing, so we'll be working on perfecting that. Which reminds me, we will have a talk later about where you learned the Kage Bunshin. I have no idea how you got a kenjutsu in your arsenal. Asuma narrowed his eyes at Naruto as he finished. Sure, sensei. Naruto replied confidently, knowing that the Hokage himself had allowed him to learn the kenjutsu. Well, that's it for today. This training ground will serve as our meeting spot from now on. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 9. Asuma gave them one last smile as he vanished in a cloud of smoke. As the smoke slowly dissipated, Naruto's teammates turned their attention to him, only to find him already making his way home. Wait. Naruto, that jutsu. I've never seen anything like it. Asuma-sensei said it was a kenjutsu. Ino trailed off with a concerned look on her face, earning a small smile from Naruto. It's a long story, but the old man is okay with it, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. Naruto replied, his mind obviously preoccupied with something else. I've read about the Kage Bunshin before, Naruto, Shikamaru insisted. It splits your chakra evenly to produce solid clones, and the user could die if they're left with too little chakra. I don't think making that many clones is safe. Shikamaru was just trying to look out for his teammate and meant no harm, but Naruto became paranoid at this line of questioning. They didn't know that the Kyuubi is the reason he can use this technique with reckless abandon, and Shikamaru was very perceptive. What if he managed to figure it out? Look, just drop it. I know what I'm doing and even the Hokage says so, Naruto bit out, looking to end this conversation as soon as possible. Ino could tell this was making Naruto very uncomfortable, so she decided to defuse the situation. Okay, Naruto. We'll drop it. How about it we all go get something to eat? We should celebrate. I'll pass. I have to take care of something back home. See you guys tomorrow, Naruto said over his shoulder, already walking away with a wave. Shikamaru could not suppress the frown that began to show on his face. Out of all his classmates, Naruto had definitely changed the most. Sensing Ino's quickly diminishing mood, he started to speak. Look, I'm actually kinda hungry, so let's head over to Yakiniku Barbecue anyway. Maybe we might even run into Choji, Shikamaru mentioned, causing her to perk up. Sounds great. But no, funny business, I don't want you or anyone else to think this is a date. Ino huffed, receiving a glare from Shikamaru. As if I'd ever date you, troublesome woman, Shikamaru declared as he began to walk towards their destination. Hey! What's that supposed to mean? She fumed as she ran to catch up to him. Yakiniku Barbecue was a popular destination for kids their age, especially the Akimichi clan. Oddly enough, the location was not as packed as usual, making it much more suitable for conversation. The pair entered the restaurant hoping to spot the spiky hair of their pudgy childhood friend but were ultimately disappointed. Taking a seat at the last table to the left end of the restaurant, The two clan heirs ordered their food and began discussing the questions that were on both of their minds. Shikamaru, you used to hang out with Naruto, right? I feel like you know him better than most people in our class. Doesn't he seem like he kind of just changed one day? I remember him being so much louder and annoying. Ino prodded, hoping to find out something about their new teammate. We didn't really hang out, Shikamaru clarified. People always lumped me, Naruto, and Kiba into the same group because we'd sleep a lot and play hooky from time to time. Yeah, but still, you guys must have talked sometimes. The only thing I can really remember about him is that he used to play pranks all the time and talk people's ear off about one day becoming Hokage, Ino said as she searched her memory for more details. Then, you know him just about as well as I do. He used to be a lot more approachable and actually had a sense of humor. Not really sure what changed. He started becoming stronger around the same time as well. Wasn't he dead last at one point? Shikamaru recalled as he realized he had not given Naruto's change in demeanor too much thought. The day he beat Sasuke-kun in a spar really changed that. They seemed to have this weird understanding between each other. The only person Sasuke-kun ever really acknowledged was Naruto, and for the life of me, I could never figure out why, Ino said as she kept her eyes fixed on the meat on the grill. He's an orphan, right? I guess him and Sasuke can understand each other in a way that we just can't. Also, did you notice that the only 3 jutsu in Naruto's arsenal are based on the ones we're taught in the academy? I guess not having a clan really limits your options, and he must have practiced until he got them down pat. Shikamaru concluded as he shoved a piece of barbecue pork into his mouth. I think I'm going to try and figure him out, Ino said absent-mindedly. You always were a sucker for mysteries, but don't bother him too much. I'd say leave him alone, honestly. Shikamaru attempted to discourage her. Relax, I won't do anything crazy like use my Shintenshin on him. Just going to poke his head a little, Ino reassured. Maybe he can be mine with Sasuke-kun. Troublesome. Meanwhile, Naruto made his way to the top of the Hokage monument, trekking up there for what was once an evening ritual. He had gotten busier and busier these days, so he had unfortunately not been able to come up here as often. He watched the setting sun disappear under the horizon, far past the restrictive walls of his birthplace. He reached his arm forward, grasping beyond the walls to a land of hopes and dreams. Standing atop the head of the first Hokage, Naruto would vow to become the strongest, just like the Shodaime had been. All-encompassing power like the strongest Hokage shaped the world, and there was much Naruto did not appreciate in the current one. Forever aimless, Naruto was stuck in this state of limbo as he knew that Konoha had shackled him into a place where did not belong. His gaze finally landed back to the setting sun, watching the orb of fire finally make its way down. Lost in thought, he brought his left hand up, inspecting the white dot he had on his palm for as long as he could remember. He had a sneaking suspicion that just like the marks ingrained onto his face, there was more to this mark than meets the eye. His true calling was beyond the great walls the citizens of this village would gladly die for. He did not know what it truly entailed, but he knew it was out there. Without a shadow of a doubt. Miles off the border of Fire Country, another figure calculated his next move as he stared up at the sky. His plant-like body seemed to blend seamlessly into the ground, a rare technique unique to him alone. The mysterious creature's plan was 1,000 years in the making, and things were finally coming together. The spy was not of this world exactly, and his very nature reflected his appearance, black and white. His creation had a very specific purpose, but for centuries he had played different roles. The creature had seen civilizations rise and fall, and had been secretly guiding the actions of man to serve his own ends. His attention focused on the site of the mysterious chakra he came to investigate. The creature had failed to notice the arrival of another figure behind him. The second figure began to speak nonchalantly, paying no mind to the fact that he had given up the element of surprise. What are you looking at? The man smiled as the creature frantically twisted his body towards the sound of his voice. It took the spy only a glance to ascertain the identity of the man staring down at him. Before he could gather his thoughts, he found himself addressing the figure before him. What are you doing her dash? The creature was interrupted as the figure grabbed his face and held him down. The spy's disbelief was quickly replaced by an emotion he had not felt in almost a millennium: fear. I've been looking everywhere for you, you little vermin. The man spoke with disdain as he towered over the creature. Unable to suppress the smile on his face, he activated his technique and squeezed. A 9-year-old Naruto was crying beside his dresser, crouched beside it and hugging his knees to his chest. The voices wouldn't stop. Why won't they stop? Why me? Why me? Why me? I can make it all go away. A voice inside his head bellowed, much louder than the rest. Stronger too. Who are you? Can you hear me? Naruto blinked as he found himself in the sewers. Come to me, Naruto. The water that came up to his knees was strangely clear, and it wouldn't slosh around when he started walking towards the voice. It felt translucent, like he was walking through clouds. The dark, dingy atmosphere of the sewers didn't bother him at all, and Naruto felt strangely calm. As he got closer and closer, the pipes surrounding the walls gained a reddish-orange hue. It was flowing from the direction of the voice. Gleaming red eyes from a colossal creature, locked behind an equally massive gate, stared at him as Naruto entered the room. Instinctively, his legs began to carry him closer to the creature, and before he knew it, he found himself face to face with his tenant. The child wasn't afraid even as the beast bared its fangs, the sinister grin seemingly stretched out for miles. A single fang tripled the size of his body. With only the thick bars separating him and the monster, Naruto began to speak. So you're the Kyuubi, huh? The reason why everyone hates me, the boy trailed off, not knowing what to say. I can make the voices stop. How? What do I have to do? I just want the pain to go away. The boy pleaded, placing his hands on his ears as the ringing grew louder. Erase everything. If you tear off the seal and entrust your soul to me, I will end your suffering. The words echoed in Naruto's mind, causing the ringing to turn into dead silence, and the blonde's eyes flickered red as he digested the Kyuubi's words. His seal began to manifest and then morph, creating a large black abyss at the center of his stomach. An end to the suffering and loneliness was worth any price, even if he would lose himself in the process. A large torrent of the translucent liquid picked the Jinchuriki up and slowly raised him to the level of the seal. That's it. Go on now. Naruto reached out for the seal as he contemplated what the consequences of this action would be. Could committing suicide be so bad if Shisui did it too? Suddenly, a hand struck out and grabbed his arm, throwing him back down. The sewer water reached out to slow his fall as he snapped out his daze, his red eyes turning back to normal. However, it didn't last for long when Naruto realized who was in here with him. The irrepressible wrath took over him, while Naruto's slits became more pronounced. He was furious. The fourth Hokage stood there in mute shock, running through all the horrible ways his son reached this point. No! What are you doing here? Haven't you done enough? Naruto screamed in his hysteria. Just let me do it. I can't just let you die. Namake's Minato whispered, his voice breaking. I'm your father. Naruto was shell-shocked. What kind of a dad does that to his kid? Do you know what you've put me through? You were supposed to protect me, not. Naruto trailed off as the implications of the news hit him. He thought he was some lowly orphan, whose parents either couldn't take care of him or just did not want him. He wasn't sure the truth was any better than that. His father was in fact the sole reason his life was a living hell. He would sometimes have this fantasy, that he did have loving parents who fought valiantly against the Kyuubi and died in the process, like some of the other kids in his class. He was half right. The truth hurt so much more than he could imagine. Everyone had been lying to him as well. The old man knew he wanted to keep him in the dark, always in a state of limbo as the third always danced around the subject, never giving him an affirmative yes or no. It was all a twisted web of lies. He wished he could still believe the lies. I had no choice, my son. Minato broke him out of his reverie, a single tear streaming down his face. You don't get to call me that. Naruto was delirious, crying furiously while this disgusting weight of sadness, pain, anger, and disgust all welled in his chest. You lost that right. Minato took a calming breath as he mulled over what to do. He wanted desperately to hug his son, tell him everything would be alright somehow, that they could figure it out together. But Naruto was right. He gave that right up long ago when he sealed the Kyuubi into his son. The only thing left to do is to tell him the truth. All of it. I couldn't pick anyone else. Minato began hesitantly. I couldn't ask someone else to give up their child when I couldn't do the same. Because you were the Hokage, right? Naruto spat out spitefully. Listen to me, Naruto. Minato's voice became stern. Jinchuriki do not live happy lives. The Ichibi doesn't let its host sleep, it slowly guides them to madness. The Hachibi's power cannot be contained for long, and the host often goes on rampages killing their friends one by one. There are 9 of you, and sometimes they are not even treated like human beings. Just living weapons, chained up until the next battle. Is this supposed to make me feel better? Naruto questioned, incredulous. Your mother was the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi before you. A dead silence overtook them. She suffered through her own hardships as well, but that wonderful woman wouldn't let it keep her down. I want you to understand that it was the last thing we wanted for you. And I would also get it if you hate me for the rest of your life. I deserve it. Naruto didn't know what to say. Killing yourself will not solve anything, Minato continued. Konoha will stand, and the current Hokage will give his life away to seal the Kyuubi into another person just like you. Only this time, this child will be hated even more than you are after 2 consecutive attacks. Would you be okay with that? The cycle will continue all the same. Naruto thought about it for a long time, empathic towards the person next in line. If it truly would end up like that, then ripping the seal off would do absolutely nothing. The Jinchuriki after him would be outright hated, beaten within an inch of his life every single day. Something within him stirred at the thought, disgusted with himself for thinking about ending it. No, he should be the one to bear this burden, and his story would not end like this. He's survived for so long already, why not a bit longer? Until he could. If you hate the cycle, do something about it. I know you can do it, because you are my son. Minato finished, stopping to give Naruto a small smile. This doesn't change anything between you and me, Naruto explained, a lot calmer than before. I will always hate you. As far as I'm concerned, I don't have a dad. Minato stared at the ground as a sad, bitter smile overtook his features. I understand. Target spotted. Shadow in position. Over. Flower in position. Over. I'm not calling myself Fish Cake. Fish Cake, are you in position? Over. Yeah, Fish Cake, get on with it. Over. A heaving sigh later, Fish Cake in position. Over. Naruto could swear he could hear the smirks on their faces through the earpiece. Ready, Gyo? Naruto quickly formed multiple clones to block the exit of the alleyway, as the target, a cat, hissed in fury of being trapped. Shikamaru and Ino converged on the animal from above, as the cat managed to evade some of their attempts before Shikamaru finally caught it. How many times do we have to catch this dumb cat anyway? Shikamaru scowled as the cat struggled in his grasp. I swear if we get assigned Tora one more time. Ino stomped as she patted her clothes down. I think this cat hates us just as much we hate it, Naruto commented with a sweat drop, as the cat almost gouged Shikamaru's eye out. Alright, team. Time to hand in our mission, and then I have a surprise for you guys, Asuma commented, which lifted the team's spirits. Ooh, I love surprises, Ino exclaimed. Why do I have the feeling I won't enjoy this surprise? Shikamaru wondered. Naruto did his patented foxy squint, causing Asuma to snort. Naruto's face when he did that always cracked the bearded jounin up. The last few weeks went by in a blur, as Naruto steadily got used to a routine. They would meet every day except for Saturday around 9 at the training grounds, and Asuma would take them to get an early D-rank mission. D-rank missions were essentially glorified labor, and Naruto was convinced they were just a method of torture, as the menial tasks made his brain feel like mush. Afterwards, the team would spar and get some training in, with Asuma trying to teach them the basics every now and then. So far, he had shown them both tree walking and water walking, as Asuma felt it was essential to have a strong base and chakra control before diverging to more advanced techniques. Asuma was surprised to find out Naruto already knew both of these techniques. Because I couldn't form a regular bunshin to save my life, I tried to increase my chakra control to help me get there. I still can't make a damn bunshin though, Naruto had explained to them. After their training, the team would sometimes go out to eat at Yakiniku Barbecue. Asuma traversed the murky line of strict guardian and an older friend very well, as the team quickly began to understand each other's tendencies and form a tentative chemistry. Naruto would admit that the 1 or 2 times he accepted their invitation, he would have a great time. However, he was careful not to let himself get carried away by it. He knew it would all come to a crashing demise if they figured out the truth. Sometimes, he would absent-mindedly wonder which family member of theirs blamed a loved one's death on him. As they finally entered the mission room, they were surprised to see Team 7 already there, waiting for one of their own. Naruto observed his rival sensei for the first time, noting his headband covering the right eye. A mane of white hair sat atop his head as the man seemed to be smiling at them with his eye. What's up, Kakashi? Asuma greeted, while Kakashi gave a non-committal shrug. Ino wasted no time and immediately enveloped her crush with a hug from the back, pressing into him. Hey, Sasuke-kun, miss me? She purred in his ear. Get your filthy hands off of him, Sakura yelled. Shut up, forehead. Sasuke-kun was probably losing his mind having to spend time with. Ino was cut off by Sasuke's sharp command. Ino, get off. It's fine, Sasuke-kun. Ino replied undeterred as she let him go. I understand you'll need some time to realize we're meant to be. She trailed off with a dreamy look in her eyes. Pig! Sakura screeched. After the distraction was off of him, Sasuke locked eyes with Naruto as they both looked each other over. They had no doubt each of them has grown under their Jounin senseis, and they were itching for a spar. Their teammates could feel the energy in the air as they both grinned at each other. Dope. Team. I hope you've gotten stronger. I'd hate to leave you further in the dust. Trust me, Sasuke, you're in for a rude awakening the next time we fight. They were interrupted by the Hokage finally walking in the door, grumbling about paperwork all the while. Sasuke and Naruto shared a pointed look, as if to say they will pick this up later. The Hokage immediately noticed who was present in this room, searching Naruto's eyes for something that he did not even know he was looking for. Shikamaru walked up to him to hand him the cat. Mission accomplished, Hokage-sama. Off to the side, Kiba was grumbling under his breath. They're flat out ignoring me. I didn't even get a hello. A job well done, Team 10. You guys have really outdone yourself, beating the previous record holder's time in catching Tora. The Hokage praised as Team 10 beamed, while Asuma ruffled each of his genin's hair. Ignoring Ino's shout for messing with her hair, the Hokage continued. I presume Team 7 is here for a mission? Yes, Hokage-sama. Kakashi finally spoke. I actually think my cute little genin are ready for a C-rank mission, and it's time they experienced the outside world. Very well. I distinctly remember Irika saying something about a bridge builder from Wave, so you guys should wait for him. I'm sure he'll be back in no time. The Hokage explained to them casually before glancing at Naruto. Naruto-kun, could you stay back and come to my office? The rest of Team 10 is dismissed. Naruto, come meet us at Training Ground 10 after you're done, okay? Asuma said as their team began walking away. Naruto could vaguely overhear Ino's outrage at Team 7 getting a C-rank mission before them as they left the room. After nodding a goodbye to Team 7, Naruto began walking behind the Hokage as they made the trek back to his office. The Hokage made a motion for the hidden Anbu to leave as they sat down facing each other, and the Hokage paused to gather his thoughts. It had been years since their last real conversation, but that day was burned into Hiruzen's mind. I can't do this anymore, Gigi. Naruto spoke in a defeated tone. Naruto's visits to the Hokage's office had become less and less frequent ever since the Uchiha massacre, and Hiruzen was worried Naruto was not dealing with the aftermath very well. After hearing this, the Hokage knew his worst fears had come true. What's been bothering you, Naruto-kun? The Hokage questioned hesitantly. He felt like he was walking on eggshells. An awkward pause followed as the Hokage didn't move to fill the silence. He wanted to truly listen to Naruto and help him in any way he could. I've been able to feel people's thoughts. Like nothing specific, or whatever. Just how they feel about me. The Hokage closed his eyes as a turbulent mix of emotions raged throughout him, as he couldn't bear to imagine what that must be like. A village full of people with nothing but negative thoughts directed right at you, and you have no choice but to bear the brunt of it every time you go outside. Taking a deep breath, the Hokage tried to focus on guiding this troubled child, as he would have to pick his next words very carefully. People fear what they do not understand, Naruto-kun, and the villagers let their fear cloud their judgment. These people have never met the real you or given you a chance, but I've seen it. I've seen the heart of gold you possess with the indomitable courage to go with it, and I have no doubt if they saw what you were truly capable of, they would acknowledge you like an adored hero. That's why you can't give up, Naruto. The Hokage tried to encourage the young boy. You're probably right, Hokage-sama. Naruto nodded to himself, as if reaching a decision in his mind, while Hiruzen winced. It's possible, but I don't even want to do that anymore. The Hokage couldn't hide the sadness in his face as he witnessed something he never thought he would see. Naruto's will of fire had been snuffed out. He had given up. For someone like me, becoming the Hokage is a fool's dream. Hiruzen smiled at seeing Naruto after so long. He had truly grown into a fine young man. How have you been, Naruto-kun? I'm fine, Hokage-sama. Naruto spoke in a clipped tone, not making any effort to add anything else. The Hokage decided to take the initiative. How do you like your team? You aren't noticing any negative side effects from the Kage Bunshin, are you? I spoke to Tuchi and I am. You haven't gone to the ramen shop in a while. Have you been eating well? Hiruzen kept inquiring about Naruto's life, asking more and more questions while Naruto remained silent. The Hokage obviously cared for him, that much he was certain of. He could hear the slight worry in the kind old man's voice as he inquired about his health, but Naruto slowly began to feel an emotion that's been a constant ever since that day: rage. bubbling beneath the surface. Naruto tried to keep a lid on it before it burst open. However, the Hokage was always a sore topic for him, and he could feel himself getting lost in his anger as his lips began to quiver. Hokage-sama. Naruto cut him off. You don't have to worry about me anymore. I'm not going to betray the village or go crazy. I get it, you have to take an interest in my life because of the Kyuubi, but you don't have to pretend to be my friend. Naruto could tell the Hokage meant him no harm and truly looked out for him, as he didn't ever feel a hint of negative emotion from the old man. However, would the Hokage ever even look at him if he wasn't the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, much less take care of him like a grandfather would? He highly doubted it. Everything with the Hokage always felt so fake ever since that day. The Hokage dipped his head for a moment before looking into Naruto's cerulean blue eyes, searching for answers to all the desperate questions swimming inside his head. Hiruzen didn't find what he was looking for. You're dismissed. As Naruto was turning away, the Hokage spoke one last time. I didn't ever have to pretend, Naruto-kun. The Jinchuriki opened the door and hesitated, as if he had something he wanted to say. However, as quick as it came, it left, and the only response the Hokage received was the sound of the door slamming shut. Making his way out of the tower, Naruto put on his headphones and kept his eyes trained on the ground as the sound of music overpowered the negative emotions directed at him. What do you think the Hokage called him for, Shika? Ino questioned as they began to warm up for their training session. Dunno. Aren't you at least a little curious? Ino exclaimed, getting frustrated. Why don't you ask him and stop bothering me? Shikamaru nodded towards the direction of their approaching teammate. As Naruto entered the training ground, his teammates could feel something was off. He looked distressed. He nodded a greeting towards both of them and began stretching. So, what was that all about, Naruto? Ino prodded, unable to help herself. With the Hokage, I mean. Ino clarified when Naruto wasn't responding. Hokage-sama wanted to catch up, was the clipped response. Really? I didn't know you're close to the Hokage like that. We were. Asuma finally decided to step into the conversation and ease the tension Naruto was feeling. Yeah, my old man can be kind of overbearing. Gets annoying sometimes, doesn't it, Naruto? Naruto gave a half-hearted shrug as Asuma cleared his throat. Alright, team. I have a surprise for you guys. Team 10 perked up as he had their full attention now, and they watched with bated breath as Asuma fished into his pockets and pulled out 3 pieces of paper. Wow. Your surprises suck, sensei. Ino spoke in a monotone voice while her teammates continued to deadpan at Asuma. Hey, give me a little credit here. These are special pieces of paper that will reveal your chakra affinity. Asuma chuckled good-naturedly as he handed a piece to each of them. Now channel a bit of chakra into them. Ino's paper turned to dirt and crumbled away, while Shikamaru's paper caught on fire and turned into ash. Naruto's paper, on the other hand, did absolutely nothing. Ino has earth, and Shikamaru has fire. Did you channel your chakra into the paper yet, Naruto? I just did, it's not working. They could hear the confusion in his voice. Did you hand me a dud, Asuma-sensei? No. Why would I do that? Honestly? Seems like something you would do. Shikamaru answered for him. Huh. So, it seems you don't have an elemental affinity. I didn't even think that was possible, but don't worry, you can still learn jutsu from the other elements. An affinity just makes it easier to do so. Yeah, don't worry, Naruto. You can just summon 100 clones and clobber on anybody. Who needs an affinity when you got that? Ino tried to cheer him up. I guess Naruto trailed off, a bit bummed out. Anyways, we're going to be learning a new jutsu today to expand each of your fighting skills. Asuma explained. And once you guys complete your assignments, I have yet another surprise. Yay. Shikamaru drawled. I can't possibly contain my excitement. Ino deadpanned right alongside him. You brats really know how to test my patience. What about me, sensei? Naruto questioned. There's no way he's the only one who doesn't get a new jutsu. Don't worry, Naruto. I have just the thing to help you elevate your fighting style. Asuma reassured him, ruffling his hair. Alright then. Shikamaru, you will be learning the Hozenka no Jutsu, Phoenix Sage Fire Technique, and Ino, you will learn the Dorikugeshi no Jutsu, Terra Shield Technique. Naruto, you will be learning the Shunshin no Jutsu, Body Flicker Technique. Asuma listed off the techniques he wanted to teach each of them. Let's get to work. Run! Uchiha Sasuke found himself in quite the predicament. Hatake Kakashi, the fabled copy nin of Konoha, was entrapped in a ball of water courtesy of Momoichi Zabuza. The nuke nin was a monster in his own right. The seemingly erratic swings of his great sword were almost calculated, as openings in his fighting style were only feints in disguise. It was obvious this was a master swordsman, and Sasuke doubted anyone in the world could wield that fearsome butcher knife like Zabuza could. It seemed like the two were matching each other blow for blow before Kakashi fell for a trick and found himself trapped. And now Sasuke was looking down at the two clones Zabuza had made to dispatch of his team. Looking over his teammates, he found himself wondering just what their chance of survival was in this situation. He was met with the terrified visages of Kiba and Sakura and couldn't help the dread that was forming in his own gut. I had to get stuck with these two, Sasuke thought before shaking himself out of it. He was the last Uchiha, and he wouldn't meet his end at the hands of a glorified butcher, not yet. He would survive for as long as he had to until he found out the truth of what happened that day. Kiba! Sasuke barked. Get Akamaru into that form so you can use the Getsuga, Fang over Fang, and follow me up. We're not going to die here. Kiba was almost pissing his pants at the scene he was witnessing, but he looked over into the Uchiha's eyes and saw the steady, undying resolve burning within them. Taking a deep breath, he tried to focus and draw from Sasuke's composure. If they tried to run at this point, Zabuza would finish off Kakashi-sensei and chase them down like dogs. Their only option at this point was freeing Kakashi-sensei from his prison so that they could all survive. Right behind you, Sasuke. Kiba spoke, steeling his eyes and letting the fear wash away with the adrenaline coursing through him. Right beside him, his faithful companion ate the small red pill given to it and roared as the Gijin Ninpo, beat initiation ninja art, transformed it. Katan, Hausenka no Jutsu. Fire release, Phoenix Sage fire technique. Sasuke spat a volley of fireballs right in the middle of the two clones, aiming for the original. Su Taian, Suijin Hiki. Water release, water formation wall. One of Zabuza's clones formed a water wall to dissipate the fireballs, hissing on impact as a thick cloud of steam obscured Zabuza's vision. However, he noticed movement in the smoke and realized the young Uchiha had hidden shuriken inside the fireballs. The other clone noticed this as well, as he appeared in front of the original and deflected the shuriken to his sides, causing them to float uselessly in the water. Getsuga. Fang over Fang. Kiba and Sasuke emerged from the smoke while Sasuke was using his chakra to run on one of deadly twisters of the Inuzuka technique. The two drills sped towards to where Kakashi was being held, as the cover of the smoke allowed them to get past the first clone. The second clone was ready to meet the duel with a smirk, as the speed of that technique was still way too slow to pose a serious threat. The water clone tightened his grip on his sword, only to find that his sword hand had turned into water from the force of an impact. Sasuke had jumped off of Kiba's twister and pulled onto the hidden wires attached to the shuriken he had thrown earlier. The two corkscrews sped towards Zabuza as they had to capitalize on this opening that Sasuke had created for them. Akamaru impaled onto the clone while Kiba put all his power into his technique, and Zabuza had no choice but to take his hand away from the water prison and dodge. The water seemed to explode from the impact as a veil of smoke surrounded the battlefield. Kakashi wasted no time in gathering his bearings as he darted forward into the mist, his right Sharingan eye gleaming within it. Zabuza had almost no time to think before Kakashi was on him, fueled by a calm, calculated anger that unnerved even him. Kakashi wasn't pulling his punches or playing it by the ear anymore, as a righteous fury ignited within him at the very real possibility that his kids could have died. Zabuza clenched the sword that was resting on his back diagonally, ready to pounce, but a well-placed roundhouse from the Kapinin caused him to block with the handle of his blade. Kicking off the handle, Kakashi spun low and tried to sweep Zabuza's knees, which was effortlessly jumped over. However, Kakashi was already squared up while Zabuza was still in the air, and a feint from his right fist left him open for a jab right onto his face. Reeling, Zabuza tried to bring his sword down, but Kakashi crouched low and entered into his personal space, preventing him from swinging down just yet. Zabuza spun away on his heels from Kakashi's outstretched punch, finally bringing his sword down and slashed horizontally, causing Kakashi to duck under it. However, Zabuza was a master at using the momentum of his first swing to carry the rest of his unrelenting barrage. Letting the sword carry him around, he slashed again, as Kakashi jumped, and kept spinning to lunge at Kakashi's mid-air body. Kakashi tucked in his legs and flipped forward, allowing the sword to narrowly miss chopping his legs clean off, and he pushed off the sword with one hand while the other plunged a kunai right into the swordsman's dominant arm. Zabuza grunted in pain as Kakashi landed behind him and tried to go for a wild swing to create as much distance as he could. Kakashi let it happen and took a long jump backwards as he started forming hand seals. Su Taian, Suede and no Jutsu. Water release, water bullet technique. Zabuza quickly pulled the kunai out of his forearm before going through a few hand seals of his own. Su Taion, Suijin Hiki. Water release, water wall formation. The water bullet dissipated uselessly against the force of the water wall as Zabuza kept forming his own seals. Halfway through, Zabuza realized Kakashi was making the same hand seals. Su Taion, Gobosho Kasame. Both of them yelled in unison. Water release, 5 gluttonous sharks. 5 sharks from each side formed into the lake they were fighting on, the water beasts seemingly having a mind of their own as they almost snarled before charging at each other. The sharks tore into each other in a vicious exchange of bites, each death being traded by the water shark next in line. Infuriated, Zabuza began running through a huge set of hand seals, and he could swear he could see Kakashi smirk beneath his mask as he followed him up with the same. Damn. Hand seals. Fucking copycat. You'll never be better than the original. Zabuza screamed in crazed aggression as he built up a massive amount of chakra. Suiton, Suryoden no Jutsu. Water release, water dragon technique. Once again, 2 water creatures took their stand facing each other, as this time 2 majestic dragons spiraled into existence by drawing up an absurd amount of water from the lake. They rushed forward and crashed into each other with devastating force, sending millions of water droplets scattering all around them in a brilliant show of power. Zabuza's mind began to feel hazy as the blood loss, chakra exhaustion, and the sheer wrath he was feeling towards this infuriating ninja began to cloud his judgment. He was going to end it here or die trying. Let's finish this. Kakashi's voice was calm and unwavering. Raikiri. Lightning blade. Both of them charged each other. The incomprehensible rage fueling Zabuza's roar was the antithesis to Kakashi's cold, deadly demeanor. It seemed like Zabuza's superior reach with his trusty sword would reach Kakashi long before the lethal lightning blade would ever connect with the nuke Nin. However, to his surprise, Kakashi extended his arm regardless, and he was charging forward as if his sword doesn't even exist. Did his arm just phase dash? Lightning exploded from Zabuza's back. Zabuza had managed to shift his torso so that the blade would miss his vitals, but he could feel his consciousness slipping. There was a hole in his upper chest, right beside the shoulder. The last thing he saw was a unique pinwheel whirling within Kakashi's Sharingan. Kakashi removed his hand from Zabuza's chest as the swordsman tumbled to the ground beside him. Kakashi did miss his heart, but Zabuza would not survive unless he got immediate medical attention, so Kakashi felt no need to deliver the finishing blow. He watched as the blood seeped out of the hole in the nuke Nin's chest, and that same detached feeling of emptiness overtook him. He had taken so many lives at this point that it didn't really faze him. He knew he wasn't one of the crazy ones as he never reveled in the act of killing, but he couldn't help but wonder. Wonder just when this became normal to him. Kakashi was interrupted from his musings as a hunter Nin appeared beside him, obviously meaning no harm. The masked ninja paused for a moment to take in the scene in front of them, lingering on the unconscious body of the nuke Nin. I am a hunter Nin from Mizugakure, the hunter Nin spoke with a slight quiver in their voice, before clearing their throat. We cannot allow anyone else to take the body of a swordsman, and we definitely cannot allow you to take one of our swords. If it's not a problem, I will be taking his body. Kakashi looked the hunter Nin over for a moment before gazing back at his fallen opponent. He could fully understand why a hunter Nin would be keen enough to follow one of the 7 swordsmen. These swords were exclusive to Mizugakure. For some reason, however, Kakashi couldn't shake this sense of uneasiness, but he tried to think things through. He did not want to start an international conflict if it turns out this hunter Nin was telling the truth, and it's very unlikely the hunter Nin could even have the medical prowess to save Zabuza if he wasn't. There was no reason to oppose the hunter. Before he could answer, Kakashi's feet began to sway as he began to feel woozy. He still couldn't use the Manjikyu without it taking a heavy toll on his body, and he could feel his consciousness slipping. He fell down onto his knees as he put up an arm to signify to his team that he was all right. However, he couldn't keep it up for long as the energy left his body, and his vision began to darken as he could feel himself slipping. His honed battle instincts instantly felt something was wrong, and a rush of adrenaline shot into his body. Looking up, he saw a Saban needle flying right at his neck, prompting him to heave himself onto his side as fast as possible. Not fast enough, Kakashi felt the sharp prick of the Saban dig into his shoulder. I knew there was something off with the hunter Nin. Kakashi thought as his vision began to blur. Poison. Kakashi-sensei! Team 7 shouted in a state of panic. The hunter Nin quickly grabbed Zabuza, who was bleeding out profusely at this point, and disappeared. The intense training regimen Naruto subjected himself to had him spent, sweat dripping profusely from his forehead. It had been 3 days since Asuma had introduced the Shunshin to him, and he had spent essentially every waking moment perfecting it. The fact that he had exploited his shadow clones significantly sped up the process. A jutsu that makes you significantly faster, perfect for traveling long distances and also perfect for running away. He could not suppress his amusement. How fitting. He found himself thinking about Shursui for the first time in years. This was the jutsu that gave him his moniker, and Naruto intended on surpassing even his old friend's prowess with the technique. However, he still had a long way to go. I have to get stronger, or else I can never leave this place. They won't let me. The blonde stretched as he made his way to his discarded jacket. It was a cool night, but the sun was almost up. His team should be here soon, and he was not looking forward to seeing their disapproving faces. He could train like this for a month and still be fine. Being an Uzumaki and a Jinchuriki to boot afforded him certain luxuries. Leaning against a nearby tree, he closed his eyes as he waited for Shikamaru and Ino to show up. By his estimation, he was about 20 minutes into his nap when he was pulled back into reality. You stayed up all night training again, didn't you? Naruto recognized that voice anywhere. He could already picture the scowl on her face as she leaned over him. Cracking one eye open, he shot his teammates a small grin. I almost have it down, Naruto replied, unable to mask how pleased he was with himself. His childlike amusement caused Ino to soften slightly. She could still see bits and pieces of the old Naruto, and his good mood caused hers to slightly perk up. I swear you're going to kill yourself one of these days, Baka, Ino replied as she stuck her tongue out. Shikamaru observed them with casual interest, brushing off the fact that they seemed to ignore his existence. Again. Naruto seems to have the right idea. Maybe we should all take a nap before Asuma-sensei gets here, Shikamaru smirked as he began to daydream about drifting out of consciousness. How'd I get stuck with a loose cannon, a lazy bum, and a chimney for a team? Ino lamented, deflating as the words left her mouth. She glanced at her two teammates to see if they were paying attention, only to find Shikamaru and Naruto talking about the best spots in Konoha to pass out after training. Am I interrupting something? Asuma added, shooting Ino a glare as walked up to the genin. Like a deer caught in headlights, Ino stared at Asuma with big beady eyes. Before she could start buttering him up, he continued speaking. How about we have a bit of a game? Asuma smiled as he glanced at Naruto. Training Naruto for the last few days had given him a small amount of insight into how his mind works. Naruto seemed to respond very positively to competition and challenges. Last one to the Hokage Tower has to buy everyone lunch, okay? We'll go on 3. 1. Why? Ino blurted as she started to gather her bearings. She failed to notice Naruto and Shikamaru already getting into their stances. 2. See ya, suckers! Asuma yelled as he began bounding towards the tower at an impressive speed, even though he was only moving at 50% of his actual pace. However, Naruto and Shikamaru had already caught on and started running at once, tripping Ino and leaving her in the dust. He could only stare in interest as he saw Naruto activate his Shunshin and take the lead. The team dodged all manner of obstacles as they made their way through the urban jungle of Konoha, earning the ire and insults of unsuspecting pedestrians. Within minutes they were in front of the third Hokage's office, panting as they took survey of their surroundings. As expected, Asuma had arrived first, followed closely by Naruto. It seems as though Shikamaru had given up halfway, as it took him an abnormally long time to show up, making it only seconds before Ino, who was covered in dirt. What the hell was that? She screeched as she dusted the sand off her clothes. She had just taken a shower, for crying out loud. I swear one of these days I am going to kill you guys in your sleep, Ino threatened as she clenched her fists, imagining choking them. Alright, well, let's go get that mission. Asuma changed the topic, knowing full well that the kunoichi would make good on that threat. Pushing against the doors, Asuma wondered if his team was even ready for a C rank. He had faith in their abilities, but he could not help shake the feeling that things might not go too smoothly. Ignoring his gut feeling and misplaced paternal instincts, Asuma shifted his focus to his old man. The third was buried in paperwork as usual and held his hand up as he finished signing the documents in front of him. Giving them one last check, he let out a tired sigh and greeted the team with as much enthusiasm as he could manage. Today is a big day for your team, Asuma-kun. Some say the first C-rank mission sets the tone for a shinobi's genin career, but I have faith in your team's abilities and your leadership. I know you guys will make Konoha proud. The Hokage smiled as he handed the scroll to Asuma. Asuma gave the scroll a quick glance over, as his team tried to peek over his shoulder. I asked for goddamn shinobi, and this is the shit I get? A rude voice interrupted them. Team 10 turned to find a man in his 40s with a thick goatee on his face. He wore a sleeveless vest that exposed much of his torso coupled with some fisherman shorts, and he had a pointy red hat on to hide his balding head. "The name's Kito, and you brats better be up for this," he trailed off quietly as an overpowering sadness seemed to creep onto his face. "My son's been missing for 2 weeks now, and I don't know what else to do." The earlier fire that the team had witnessed washed away in the face of his utter desolation. This man was lost and needed help. "Don't worry, Kito-san. My team and I will do everything in our power to help you find your son," Asuma reassured the man before addressing his team. "We'll meet tomorrow at the gates at 0600 hours sharp. The location is close to the northwestern border of Fire Country, so pack for at least a 2-week trip." "Hi, Sensei," Team 10 chorused. "You kids can take the rest of the day off. I'm going to be talking with Kito-san here to get as much information as I can." Asuma dismissed them. The genin nodded as they started walking away, contemplating how their first ever C-rank mission would go. Ino was scared to leave the safe confines of her home, and she wondered if she truly had the stuff to make it out there. Shikamaru couldn't help but feel a sense of wariness that had him on high alert, and he vowed to take this seriously so nothing would happen to his team, his friends. Naruto was ecstatic. "Let's see what's out there." Should I risk it?" a 6-year-old Naruto contemplated. It was the day of the Rinne festival, a winter holiday where people would exchange gifts with one another. Naruto knew that the festival had some religious undertones, but he couldn't quite remember exactly what it was for. Nonetheless, the people of Konoha knew how to party, as thunderous festivities were raging outside his bedroom. He had tried to go last year, and let's just say he didn't have a very warm welcome. Vendors wouldn't sell to him while people would ignore him, and the only interactions he would ever get into were laced with a thin veil of wrath or annoyance. This year was different, however. He now knew how to perform the henge. Making up his mind, Naruto quickly transformed into a nondescript-looking young boy and set off, dead set on enjoying the festival for once. He patted the frog-shaped wallet in his pocket. Gamachan had been fed quite generously the last few months. He was having a blast. Naruto couldn't remember the last time he laughed so much in one night, playing the carnival games various vendors had set up. The exquisite food, sometimes given to him for free for being a cute little boy, was out of this world. Even the other kids were talking to him with no parental interference. "That's a pretty good henge for a child." A voice spoke up suddenly, just loud enough for him to hear. Turning around, Naruto saw a raven-haired teenager with grooves extending from the bridge of his nose, sporting a sly smile. "I don't know what you're talking about." "You know, kiddo, walking around in a henge in the middle of a shinobi village is just asking for trouble. People could think you're up to some bad stuff." "What? But I'm not doing anything." "Aha. So, you do admit you're in a henge?" Flustered, Naruto tried to get back at the teenager. "Leave me alone, old man. I'm going to cry for help." "Who you calling old?" The guy with stress marks stretching all the way down to his chin, that's who. "Alright, now you're pissing me off," the teen replied, exasperated. "Why did you even transform? You sound like a kid anyway?" Naruto became silent as he slowly dispelled his jutsu. Sad blue eyes looked up into the stranger's onyx ones, conveying what words cannot. "They don't accept me for who I am." The teen realized why the boy had gone to such drastic measures and could not exactly blame him. He flashed Naruto a reassuring smile as he bent down to offer a handshake. "I'm Shursui, by the way." Shursui spoke as Naruto hesitantly reciprocated the handshake. "You're a Naruto, right?" "How'd you know my name?" Naruto was freaked out. "Relax. My best friend's little brother is in your class," Shursui explained, laughing at the horrified expression on Naruto's face. "Say, you want to join us?" Yuki Haku frantically tried to stop the bleeding. "There's too much. It's not stopping." The gaping hole in her master's chest stared her down while she began to hyperventilate. She wasn't versed in medical ninjutsu, and she doubted even the best of the best could really fix this. She couldn't travel very far while Zabuza was bleeding out, making an impromptu stop in the middle of the forest. She could only hope that the poison would force them to back off and not chase her, because she didn't think she could fight them and save Zabuza at the same time. Speaking of the devil, Zabuza began to rouse into consciousness, a pained grunt leaving his body. "Haku," Zabuza muttered. "Freeze the hole." "Zabuza-sama." Haku was aghast. "I doubt you can use that shoulder again if I do it." "I'll die otherwise," Zabuza said, coughing up some blood. Tears pooling in her eyes, Haku concentrated her chakra into the chilling force of her bloodline. Zabuza screamed. Kito's village was at least a 2 days trip away when traveling with a civilian, so Team 10 decided to set up camp for the night. Naruto and Shikamaru were tasked to find some firewood, while Asuma and Ino was helping Kito fish for dinner. Well, that was the plan in theory. Naruto was making quick work of their task with the use of a dozen shadow clones, and Shikamaru saw that it was all covered and lied down on a nice branch. The star-spangled nighttime sky, especially out in the countryside, was just as awe-inspiring as the clouds he usually watches. They deserved to be observed. On the other front, Asuma had decided to let the fisherman do his job, as he sat down and leaned against a tree while smoking a cigarette. Ino tried to help as much as she could, but Kito was just getting annoyed and wanted to work in peace. "Shikamaru!" Naruto yelled to get his attention. "I think this is enough wood, right?" Shikamaru raised an eyebrow at the sheer amount Naruto gathered in such little time, and he adjusted his position to get a bit comfier. "Yeah, but just to be safe, get some more?" "You just want to keep staring at the sky, don't you?" "Troublesome." A chuckle escaped Naruto's lips. "Come on, you lazy bum. You can do the same thing back at the campfire." Asuma watched with dry amusement as Kito finally had enough and told her to leave him alone, spouting about how a fisherman needs to work with peace and tranquility. Quite frankly, Ino was the furthest thing from those things, so she just huffed and walked back to her sensei. "Stupid fisherman. I just wanted to help, and that's what I get." "Sometimes, it really is the best move to do nothing, Ino. Some people just don't want your help, and that's fine." "I guess." Ino considered it for a moment before agreeing. Shikamaru and Naruto decided to join the crew, as Naruto and a couple of his clones approached them carrying a bunch of firewood. "All done, sensei," Naruto said while arranging it into a bundle. "Great work, Naruto." Asuma praised before he gave Shikamaru the side-eye. "Shikamaru, did you even do anything?" "You're one to talk, sensei. You probably let Ino do the work, too," Shikamaru retorted. "Touché." "Alright, I caught some fish," Kito announced, carrying 4 fish, one much smaller than the rest. "The annoying one can have the small fish. I got sick of waiting around." Ino almost exploded while Asuma put a calming hand on her shoulder. With detached focus, Naruto watched the atmosphere shift as Asuma lit the bundle of firewood. Everybody began to gather by the fire, basking in the warmth, the glow of the flames softening the features of those around them. Naruto cleared his throat as those pesky emotions began to rise. He knows from experience that Uzumaki Naruto does not get these things. "It's all a lie." "You're not going to join us, Naruto?" Ino asked, noticing how he kept his distance. Naruto hesitated for a bit. "I don't really eat fish, so you can have one of the bigger ones, Ino." He wondered if they bite. "Aren't you going to eat?" Asuma asked him. "I packed some food," Naruto let them know before walking away. "I'm going for a walk, Asuma-sensei." The rest of Team 10 watched as their teammate took off to the trees, and Asuma contemplated if he should follow. He let out a sigh of resignation when he came to the conclusion that once again, it's better to do nothing, infuriated that his own advice would come back to bite him like this. Naruto just wanted some alone time. "I'm going after him," Ino spoke with conviction. "I don't know about that, Ino," Shikamaru warned. "We've been a team, what, a month? We barely know the guy, and he isn't the sharing type. Maybe we should be the ones putting our best foot forwards," Ino voiced in that brazen demeanor of hers. "It's obvious he's upset about something, and it helps to talk about these things." Uzumaki Naruto was a quiet soul, a side effect of valuing privacy as much, but he was a kind one. Team 10 would see it whenever he would interact with animals or children, his natural inclination to help. The mad determination of a true hard worker was present in every jutsu or kata he would practice. He would always respond to what you would say, willing to play the game but never too far. Asuma paused to light a cigarette while he thought. "I trust your judgment, Ino." "Sensei?" Shikamaru questioned. "Well, you were going to go whether I agreed or not. Just wanted to give my support." Asuma smiled. On the surface, that was Uzumaki Naruto, but Ino was perceptive. Hailing from a clan specializing in mind techniques, the Yamanaka had a unique sense for it, resulting in very high emotional intelligence among them. She could see it. The cracks on the surface. A little white lie here, an omission of a detail there. A persona constructed by Naruto to never let anyone too close, afraid at what would happen if the walls were breached, and the truth was out. When this persona was challenged, Naruto would place a well-practiced blank look over his face as he brushed off whatever it was. Nah, I never knew my parents. You guys go ahead. I'll meet you there at the training ground. I don't really want to meet your mom. Shaking away any lingering thoughts, the platinum blonde steeled her resolve as she quickened her pace. Before long, the mind reader found herself in an open clearing overlooking a lake. The subject of her thoughts was found sitting under a tree, gazing at the sky as his chopsticks continuously delivered food to his mouth. Instinctively, the Yamanaka followed his line of sight to find herself face to face with an unhindered starry sky. The lake and the sky seemed to seamlessly blend together, as the moon dyed everything in the vicinity with an ephemeral hue. Ino stood there breathless as Naruto decided to break the obvious silence between them. Ino? Naruto spoke, unsure of what his teammate was doing here. Oh hey Naruto. I followed you here. There's something I have been wanting to talk about, the blonde admitted, avoiding the Jinchuriki's gaze. The whiskered shinobi watched her with morbid fascination. He could tell this conversation would move in a direction that he would not particularly enjoy, but he could not figure out why this was happening. He knew Ino was a naturally curious person, but he had a hard time figuring out why she took so much of an interest in him. Why didn't you eat with us? Ino began. I didn't feel like it, was the curt response. Nah, I don't think that's really the reason. Is this really what you wanted to talk about? Kinda. Ino replied as she took a seat right beside Naruto, who shifted away. You don't really like talking about yourself, so I'm just going to take the initiative. Well, Naruto cleared his throat, a bit nervous at how insistent she was being. I packed some food already, and this way you could have the. What are you so afraid of? Ino cut him off. I see it, you know. You have all these neatly practiced ways to hide, but your eyes always tell the truth. Naruto's breath hitched in his throat when Ino gave him that look, an imploring sheen in her eyes, begging to let her in. I'm not trying to push too hard. Ino's voice lowered. I can understand that there are certain things you don't want to share. I just want you to be there if we're at a campfire, or if we're going to a restaurant together, or if we're even just hanging out. We like your company, Naruto. Naruto swallowed the lump in his throat. I'll try. Ino could tell Naruto was just saying what needs to be said to get this over with as fast as possible, but she could also tell he meant what he was saying. Looking up at the stars, Naruto had a gentle smile on his face, almost as if he was exasperated at the way Ino was behaving. You're really bossy, you know that. Naruto turned, flashing her that smile. Ino felt her ears and cheeks heat up as butterflies churned in her stomach, and she couldn't help but return a smile of her own. She looked down at the box of rice balls in Naruto's hands, and she sported a cheeky grin while she popped one of them into her mouth. Your rice balls were getting cold. Naruto snorted, resuming eating as well. You want to go back soon? In a bit. It's beautiful out here. Ino reached in for another rice ball, which was swatted away. Hey! Fine, but this is the last one. Kakashi-sensei, you're awake. Sakura? Kakashi questioned as the haze slowly lifted. Where am I? We were pretty close to Tizuna's house, so we carried you here. The dog you summoned before passing out injected you with an antidote and told us to let you rest. Where's Kiba and Sasuke? They were out training pretty late tonight, something about how they felt they needed to get stronger. Kiba came back and he's asleep, but Sasuke-kun is still out there. Kakashi expected as much from them. He tried to get up, but felt like his limbs were made of lead. He glared at the unmoving appendages before slowly turning to look at his student's distressed face. He smiled reassuringly with his eye as she smiled back. Looks like I'm going to be out of commission for a few days. This feels like a paralyzing agent. The fake Hunter-nin wanted to either kill me or incapacitate me for a few days. He will return. What? Don't worry, Sakura. Zabuza needs immediate medical attention, issued by us some time. Are you doing all right? I'm hanging in there, sensei. He could tell Sakura was desperately clinging on to whatever she could. He was proud of her, of them. He lied back down on the bed, getting as comfortable as he could with a numbing agent coursing through his veins, which, in fact, was very comfortable. He cleared his throat before speaking up once again. How long has Sasuke been gone? Almost 6 hours now. The worry lines crinkled her forehead. The unmistakable feeling of a presence jolted Sasuke awake from his slumber. Must have fallen asleep after training, and he opened his eyes to see a girl around his age looming over him. Wearing a pink kimono, she had long black hair that reminded him of his mother. Sasuke was surprised. His first thought about this girl was that she was rather pretty. What are you doing out here all alone? I could ask you the same thing. Sasuke narrowed his eyes. She was not this unassuming girl she tried to portray herself as. I'm here to save my friend. The girl bent down to gather some herbs. He needs all the help he can get right now. Was this the hunter Nin? I was training, Sasuke voiced confidently. There's someone out there who is threatening my survival, and he must be dealt with. Is that all you fight for? Haku stopped gathering herbs to look him in the eye. To survive? I need to get stronger. Strong enough to find out the truth. Sasuke's resolve shone through his eyes. I suppose that is a noble goal. The girl acquiesced. But I believe true strength comes from protecting the people closest to you. Sasuke digested this statement in his head for a while she continued. Do you have people who are precious to you? I used to. Sasuke closed his eyes, a brief image of his dead family flashing behind his eyelids. How desperately his journey was intertwined with the people precious to him. Sasuke figured she was right in a manner of speaking. It's just that everyone he loved was dead. The girl looked over the herbs she had collected, seemingly satisfied. We will meet again, young Uchiha. How did she know who he was? Then, we'll see whose ninja way is stronger. A voice whispered in the wind as she disappeared. Alright guys, here's the plan. Team 10 was walking through a busy street in Kito's home, a quaint little town that barely had over 100 people. Old wooden houses and vendors lined the streets, creating a vastly different atmosphere to what the Konoha natives were used to. Present in all their little interactions, there was a sense of familiarity amongst the people. Kito and I are going to meet with our contact, so we can get up to speed on the investigation so far. I want you three to explore the city and try to glean as much as you can about the situation as possible. Keep in mind that Konoha has a rather complicated history with the people here, so try to not cause too many waves. I'm looking at you, Naruto, Asuma finished as he eyed the blonde warily. Although he was well aware that Naruto had not caused too much trouble in Konoha for quite some time now, old habits tend to die hard, and he was apprehensive about leaving someone as mischievous and hot-headed as the Jinchuriki unsupervised. I got it, Naruto waved him off, a bit amused at the fact that Asuma did not trust him, and rightfully so. He had no intention of letting this opportunity go to waste. I have a question, Ino added, looking a bit daunted at the prospect of tackling this part of their mission without Asuma there in case something goes wrong. I'm guessing using my jutsu on some unsuspecting villager is a no-go. I mean, where should we even start anyway? The mission briefing mentioned that it wasn't just Kito's son, but 5 other families have reported a missing person within the last month. In a small town like this, I have a hunch that most of the people here know more than they are letting on. You guys don't really have to kick ass and take names, if that is what you're asking. Just mingle with the villagers, go to a bar or something, and ask the right questions, Asuma replied, taking the occasional drag as he took a lay of the land. You're encouraging us to go to a bar? Shikamaru questioned, amused. Well, you're shinobi now, so you're technically adults. All of you are forbidden from drinking, of course, this is a mission. Asuma warned with a deadly glint in his eye. My students will not take a mission lightly. That's what gets you killed. The 3 of them nodded seriously. As if a switch was flipped, he was back to his usual self. Don't worry, Ino. I won't be gone long. This is just something I'm asking you guys to do to see if we learn anything relevant. Between the 3 of you, I'm sure you guys will find something that will help piece this all together. Realizing that both Shikamaru and Naruto would be there with her, Ino regained her composure. Although this was their first year rank, she knew both her lousy teammates were actually quite reliable. With Shikamaru's quick wit and Naruto's brute force, she felt rather confident in their ability to come up with some answers. She shot Asuma a smile and tried to think of ways to approach their assignment. Where should we find you, in case we find something or whenever we're done investigating? Shikamaru finally spoke. It was clear that he had spent the last couple of minutes trying to devise a strategy, and both Ino and Naruto had a hunch that he already came up with something. If the meeting takes about as long as I think it will, I'll find you. However, in case something comes up, I want us to meet back at Kito's house. Now, if that's all, I think it is about time Team 10 officially started their first real mission. You're dismissed, Asuma encouraged, clearly confident in their capacity to handle themselves. Asuma and Kito began walking away while Team 10 looked at one another for answers. Alright guys, I think I have an idea on how we should go about this, Shikamaru began, gaining his teammates' attention. It would be best if we split up to cover more ground and ask the right questions, as Asuma-sensei put it. Yeah, I'm definitely sticking to one of you guys. Ino deadpanned. Great, so it's settled. Ino and Shikamaru, you guys do your thing. Naruto cheerfully waved at them before starting to walk away. Where do you think you're going, Naruto? Ino all but screeched, obviously noticing Naruto's vain attempts to elude them. Grabbing him by the collar, the platinum blonde dragged the helpless demon container back to their original spot. Hey! Let go of me, woman! Naruto yelled. Shikamaru was really influencing him. Shikamaru just said we should split up. I'm going to check out the red light district, and trust me, you guys do not want to come with me. Ino fumed at Naruto's dry chuckle. What's that supposed to mean? Well, you would straight up not have a good time there, and Shikamaru would be helpless once a relentless hooker sets her eyes on him. Naruto explained matter-of-factly. You know we're on a mission, right, Byakuya? This is not the time to go play hooky. Shikamaru wasn't even done with the plan, Ino yelled, looking just about ready to knock sense into their reckless teammate. Just meet us back here at sundown, Shikamaru relented, pinching the bridge of his nose as he smiled. He knew better than to try to control Naruto when he got like this, and part of him enjoyed seeing Naruto act more like Naruto. Yes, sir. Naruto saluted before putting his hands on the back of his neck and strolling in the direction of the red light district. He seemed to have a natural compass when it came to trouble. Is he really gonna be okay? Ino softened, slightly worried about Naruto. Honestly, I'm more worried about everybody he comes into contact with. Besides, you and I have our own job to do. You ready? Lead the way. Naruto hasn't felt this good in years. Making his way deeper into the seedy parts of town, there was a bounce in his step as a small smile was present on his face. People didn't know who he was here, so for the first time since that day, he hasn't felt that familiar wave of negative energy from the people around him. There was no spiteful leer in their eyes or derogatory words kept on a tight leash in their throats. They didn't have the faintest clue who he was. Some of the villagers couldn't help but be uplifted by his demeanor, offering a smile back. He relished in this feeling of what it was like outside Konoha. He focused back to the task at hand, finally reaching an intersection where there were questionable women standing around and homeless men strung out on the streets. He was here, and he knew this part of town was always the place to go to for information. More people came to places like this than they would care to admit, either to spend or get money, and everybody had something to say. The anonymity of it all really loosened lips, but information would travel up the grapevine pretty fast. No names, of course, but vague information. What's happening behind the scenes? He spotted a man walking out of a seemingly nondescript alleyway, obviously happy about something while carrying a bag. Either he won a lot of money from gambling or he just brokered way too large of a deal with a loan shark. For his sake, Naruto hoped it was the former as he entered the alley. A gambling den or a loan shark would both be great sources of information, but Naruto couldn't hide his grin as he heard the telltale sounds of the hustle of a den from the building at the end of it. Two large men guarded the entrance, making no move to acknowledge the approaching Naruto. Hello, gentlemen. Naruto greeted as he pulled out Gamachan, filled to the brim with money. Can I get in? Naruto pulled out 100 ryo, waiting for one of them to take it from him. One of the men wanted to say something before he glanced at his headband, promptly shutting him up. Technically, not just a kid, he mused, and snatched the bill away. They moved to create some space as Naruto deftly eased into the house with practiced ease. Noting his elevated heart rate, Naruto shook his head at himself. He really did have a gambling problem. The chaos of this place was a welcome sight for him, easily navigating through the sea of people and taking note of the tables around him. The shuffle of cards was a constant in the environment, as waitresses quickly moved back and forth transferring people's money into chips. A particularly rowdy group sat in the back right corner, seemingly given a private spot. Regulars. They were laughing at something when he walked up to them, an easygoing smile plastered on his face. What's the buy-in for this table, fellas? Way too high for a kid. A heavily tattooed bald man spoke up. Not just a kid. Naruto pointed to his headband. Besides, I'm pretty sure I can afford it. Even D-ranks paid well for him as a kid with barely any expenses, especially when the Hokage made sure to give him his current place for free. Adding on to that, Naruto would frequent the gambling rings back home when he was younger. People there wouldn't judge him as much. Suffice to say, he gathered up quite the savings. 10,000 ryo. A woman spoke this time, watching him curiously. He forked over the cash, wincing a bit at how much lighter his wallet had gotten. Sheesh. Kids actually walking around with that much? You're either very brave or very stupid. The final person on the crew spoke up, a thin man with a spiky mohawk. Little bit of both. Naruto smirked. He was going to empty their pockets by the time he was done. Naruto didn't say much the first couple of games, willing to play for the sake of playing. The rest of the crew noticed that as well, allowing themselves to relax. A shinobi walking into one of these things would set anyone on edge. Naruto didn't want to show his hand just yet. I fold. The bald man uttered, annoyed at his hand. Your call, kiddo. The woman challenged. Naruto looked at his hand, noting the 2 jacks. The board had 4 cards revealed at this point in time, 2 of them were jacks and the other 2 were 9s. Even if the last card left formed a sequence, Naruto highly doubted any of the other 2 had a flush. I'll raise you 2,000 ryo. Naruto shrugged. Ha! Kid actually called me out. The woman never lost her amused expression. I fold. Looks like it's just you and me, huh, brat? The remaining man spoke menacingly, eyeing how big the pot had become. All in. Naruto had seen the flash of greed overcome his eyes when the man mentally counted how much cash was at the table. He had a good hand, so he was willing to risk it for the reward while a bead of seed formed on his brow. Naruto smirked. It was a bluff. All in. Fuck. The man swore as Naruto laid down his hand, 4 of a kind. Naruto grinned as he piled up the chips he had just won, beckoning for a girl to change these up for him. He knew to quit when he was ahead. While waiting for her to do so, he decided to ask them some questions. A good game of cards always made people inclined to talk. I'm actually here to investigate the missing people. Naruto began gravely. Got any info for me? The 3 of them looked at each other for a long second, seemingly reaching a decision before the woman spoke up. We're just as clueless as you are. Her voice lost its mirth. There's no mercenaries or anyone being hired, so I don't even know if it's an organized operation. However, we have managed to figure out something. 2 of the missing people were kids. The one with the mohawk spoke up. Kids that I used to know, actually. Used to hang around here, getting odd jobs every now and then. These kids didn't have fun home lives to say the least. Yeah, all of these families have dark secrets. The bald man confirmed. Seems to be the only connection. The waitress returned with the cash she had won, and Naruto shot her a smile as he accepted the bag. Looking back at the crew, he nodded towards them. Thank you. Good luck, kiddo. Naruto exited the house as the orange glow of the sunset dominated his vision, and he looked around to see people slowly leaving the streets back into their houses. You did not want to be wandering around in this part of town at night, and Naruto couldn't blame them. He didn't want to test his luck either, even though he was a shinobi. He contemplated their mission as he roof-hopped on his way back to the rendezvous point. The mission had another layer added to it now. The victims were all victims of circumstance, of abuse, just like he was, factors out of their control painting a target on their backs as well. They mentioned 2 of the missing people were kids, and both of them were aware of the realities of the red light district way too young. Kito-san was not the man they thought he was. What if his son had wanted to leave? Soon enough, he found himself back at Kito's house, where all of Team 10 was waiting upstairs. Naruto quickly excused himself to freshen up while Asuma told him to hurry. They were waiting for him to debrief and go over what they had found. It wasn't long before they were huddled up, speaking in hushed tones. I talked to the lead investigator on this case. Asuma began and pulled out a map. The kidnappings all happen around this sector of town, always near the southwest exit. We also know that these mysterious disappearances occur on the weekends, like a routine. Me and Shikamaru talked to some guys at the bar. Ino spoke up. After I paid for his damn drink, Shikamaru complained. Why are bar prices that outrageous? One of them was a friend of the man that disappeared. Apparently, he tried to talk to him the night of his disappearance, but this guy kept walking as if he didn't even hear him. The guy we talked to was pretty drunk at the time, but he swore he wasn't exaggerating anything. It was like he was in a trance-like state. I also got something. Naruto added to the theories swirling in their heads. All of the people taken have trouble in their homes, victims of abuse or neglect or anything in between. That seems to be the only connection between these families. Asuma furrowed his brows. Something's going on here. A ruthless businessman, Gatau was the epitome of greed. The end justifies the means, and nothing would stop him if it meant he'd be raking up profits. Exploitation of the people under him was only a stepping stone, and he wouldn't think twice about ending someone's life to gather wealth. At the end of the day, money was power, and he had enough of it to go around. His personal office reflected his nature, adorned with exotic vases and paintings from all around the world. A great mahogany desk with a maroon garnish dominated the center of the room, and it was here that Gatau would sit here every day. This was also where Haku almost killed Gatau. His guards hadn't the faintest idea the girl snuck her way into his room in broad daylight, the sunlight reflecting menacingly off the ice needles floating around her. Her usually kind face was set ablaze with a desperate passion, and Gatau was left quivering at her killing intent. Zabuza-sama needs a healer. His wound is starting to get infected, and his condition is only getting worse. I need one now, Haku roared. I'll get you one, girl. Gatau sneered as a plan began to form in his head. As soon as you kill the bridge builder. You don't want to test me right now, Gatau. Haku grabbed an ice needle and appeared behind him, pushing it against the vulnerable skin of his neck. Ah. Gatau wagged his finger. You need me. If you kill me now, no one will find you someone capable of healing your precious master. Haku grit her teeth before throwing Gatau to the floor. Fine. Their leader is down temporarily, so I'll finish the job tomorrow. Excellent. Naruto? Naruto tried to focus on Ino's voice, but something was calling him, dominating his thoughts as his feet began walking towards it. Come to me. What's going on, Naruto? Asuma questioned as he walked up to him, shaking the Jinchuriki vigorously. Snapping out of his daze, Naruto's eyes regained their luster. Asuma-sensei? Team 10 was investigating the southwestern sector of the town, on high alert as they scanned the surroundings for anything suspicious. They knew that these mysterious disappearances only occurred during the weekends late at night, and they stuck to the shadows while patrolling the streets. What was that about? Ino asked him, all of them huddled around Naruto. I think whatever is behind all of this was calling me too, he informed them gravely. I can still vaguely hear it. We have to go this way. Naruto resumed his trek while Team 10 slowly digested this information, the implications of his declaration not quite hitting them yet. Asuma pinched his nose at how complicated this was all becoming, wondering if he should pull his genin out of this. Ino and Shikamaru pondered what Naruto's life must have been like to be chosen like the others. Let's follow him, then. Stay close and don't let anything happen to Naruto, Asuma commanded. I have a bad feeling about this, sensei, Shikamaru announced. Their journey led them to the outskirts of the village, deep into the forest, and they could feel something sinister in the shadows. Whatever was going on here wasn't normal. Very few forces could impose their will onto a person like this. Eventually, they reached the small mountain that bordered this village, perplexed that Naruto would be led to a dead end. Naruto was transfixed at this point, blindly staring into the mountainside as if a path would form from sheer force of will. It did. Team 10 watched in mute shock as the cave wall collapsed in on itself, crumbling away to reveal a hidden passage. On autopilot, Naruto began walking inside, paying no heed to his teammates' calls for him to slow down and not rush in blindly. He registered their words, but kept walking. I can sense the pain within your heart. Naruto! Ino shouted at him. Don't just walk in there. Get back here! Asuma's danger senses were going haywire, as he felt like there was more at play here. He frantically checked their surroundings and noticed a dark ball of chakra flying at them from behind. Instinctively drawing his trench knives, he pumped wind chakra into them as he yelled. Scatter! Ino and Shikamaru wasted no time as they jumped out of the way, while Asuma deftly weaved around it to come face to face with the source of that mysterious chakra. Dressed in an intricate white and red robe, an old man with white shoulder-length hair greeted them with a smirk. Sarutobi Asuma, your reputation precedes you. A former member of the 12 Guardian Ninja, and of course, the man had a crazed glint in his eye. The Hokage's son. You seem to know me, but I have no idea who you are. Asuma's voice was cool, calm, and collected. My name is of no consequence to a dead man. Ino, Shikamaru, Asuma barked. Go with Naruto, I got this. The two of them nodded and took off. The man laughed darkly. You shouldn't have done that. Naruto was walking through a dark corridor when he snapped out of his daze, eyes flaring red for just a moment. Shaking his head furiously, he found himself looking at a door at the end of the tunnel, a red glow flickering from within. He finally noticed his teammates' voices echo through the corridor behind him, turning back to look at their concerned and furious faces. Naruto! You can't just go AWOL like that! Ino exclaimed, relieved he was okay. Asuma-sensei is fighting this old man, who knew exactly who Asuma was and still wanted to fight him. Shikamaru explained. He's dangerous, and I have a feeling he's the one behind these kidnappings. No. Naruto disagreed vehemently. Whatever is behind all of this is in that room. I can feel it. Don't do what you're thinking, Naruto. Shikamaru tried to reason with him. We should back up Asuma-sensei for now and go in there together. Naruto felt a sharp pulse of negative emotions directed at him, a cacophony of voices all screaming from behind the door. How many people were locked in there? I can fix everything. Our mission is still to find Kito-san's son. I have a feeling he's inside that room, Shika. Naruto's voice was unwavering. We have to save them. Team 10 exchanged a look, conveying what their words could not. Ino was frightened to the bone, her watery eyes betraying the false bravado she tried to muster up. Shikamaru's contemplative eyes never left Naruto's determined visage, wondering just what the hell they were getting into. They nodded at each other as they walked inside the room. Oh my god, Ino's voice shook. There was a dozen or so people all stuck in suspended animation inside a vat of liquid, staring back at them in the dark. There were tubes attached to these contraptions at the top, siphoning red-colored chakra from the helpless victims every few seconds. The flashes of intermittent red light allowed the genin to get a good look at them, and Team 10 were horrified to find out every single one of them had content smiles on their faces. They traced the cylinders back to the source, where a single white mask glimmered in the dark. The kanji 40 was painted on its forehead. The mask noticed their arrival, awaking from its slumber as red engravings all around the room began to glow, an intricate pattern on every single surface of the jagged rock of the mountain. Unable to comprehend what they were seeing, the genin got their first good look at the monster in the cave. It was a dark purple leech with a massive serpent-like body, with 5 red hair-like strands jutting out from its mask. Its massive undulating body stretched forward as it instantly closed the distance between them, the mask face to face with Naruto. Welcome. Its voice had an ethereal tone, and the genin couldn't identify exactly where the sound was coming from. It sounded like its voice was all around them, almost as if it was inside their heads. I've been waiting for you for a while now, child. Why? I haven't felt a darkness as great as the one in your heart for a long time. The creature's voice seemed to gain a sixth sense of mirth. I knew I must have it. What the fuck are you? Shikamaru was on edge. His heart was racing. He felt like he was knocking on death's door interacting with this monster. What was he doing? He should be tucking tail and running as fast as he could out of here, not casually striking up conversation with a 20-foot worm. However, his feet remained rooted to the spot in this odd sense of absurdity. He looked to his right and noticed Ino wasn't faring any better, but Naruto was abnormally calm. He had faced a far more malicious presence than this. You can call me the Rabi Zero Tails. Team 10 could finally put a name to the mask. Now let's get rid of your friends before moving on. All 3 genin instantly felt a jolt of adrenaline rush into their systems as the creature shot multiple tentacles at them. Tajukage Bunshin no Jutsu. 100 clones instantly formed between them and the beast, all of them valiantly trying to maim and beat the enormous creature. Multiple clones used the Shunshin to appear on many of its extended arms, running alongside it and substituting with each other as they made the trek close to the mask. Suddenly, a multitude of spikes shot out from the creature, impaling all of the clones at once. We need to run! Shikamaru yelled. Lightning fast, an arm extended from the beast and struck right above the door, the rocks piling down to block the exit. Not so fast, children. The fiend mocked them. The tentacles shot forward again, only this time, the deadly appendages forming razor-sharp skewers aimed at Ino. Shikamaru's cry of warning died in his throat as Naruto shunshined into its trajectory, 8 spikes impaling various parts of his torso and legs. Naruto! Ino screeched as Naruto spat out blood. Shikamaru saw red. All logical thought flew out the window as he bum-rushed the creature, screaming a furious battle cry, before a hand struck out to knock the living daylights out of him. Shikamaru flew back from the impact, his back bouncing off the cave walls as he slumped unconscious. Shika! Ino was hysterical, screaming but was cut short as the same enormous hand picked her up. It squeezed. Ino's shrill, painful wail rung out through the room, as she felt some of the bones in her body crack before the arm loosened its choke hold on her. Slipping in and out of consciousness, her blurry vision looked right at the red, gleaming eyes of her fellow blonde. Naruto, was it? The creature continued the conversation casually. Why are you fighting it? I know you have this darkness bottled up deep inside you. I can feel it, the enormous power within. Let it out. Naruto grit his teeth at the monster's goading as he could feel that corrosive chakra bubbling within him. Fuck off. You are weak, Naruto. You'll never be able to protect your friends without the power inside you. The abomination squeezed once more for good measure, and Naruto had to look away while Ino screamed again. Or will it take the death of one of your friends for you to realize this lesson? Let her go. Naruto's voice trailed off weakly. Please. So be it. The rabies started to squeeze again, intent on ending Ino's life this time. No. A rush of bright red arcs of chakra burst out of Naruto, the sheer magnitude of its power throwing the Zero Tails off balance. Ino fell to the ground in a useless heap as the red chakra seemed to burn the rabies' tentacles away, and the rabies slithered back a few paces, hissing in pain. The holes in Naruto's torso sizzled and shut tight, the flesh seemingly as good as new. The skin from his chest and arms peeled off, and a dark, red layer of chakra covered them, seemingly alive in its unique flow. 4 tails, the same color as Naruto's breastplate and arms, surged behind him. Naruto looked up at the rabi, the left side of his face covered with a layer of dark, red chakra, while a manic grin was plastered on his face. You rang? Team 7 watched in stilted silence as Tazuna was addressing his workers, a commanding air around him as he did what he did best. However, they couldn't get over the fact that all of this had happened just for this bridge, a game of greed where one tyrant would kill all those who would even inconvenience him. Their sensei had been poisoned, and they had almost died. Tazuna almost died as well. I'm not going to let him scare me into house arrest. And so, the bridge builder set off for a new day, a fierce determination surging through his veins. With a bit of prodding from Kakashi, he convinced them to all go with the bridge builder, insisting he would be fine without them for a day. They were wary of an attack from that hunter Nin, and frantic eyes scanned every single crevice of their environment at all times. Yuki Haku did not bother sneaking around. Her steady gait was unnerving, a slow, purposeful walk across the unfinished bridge towards them, eyes ablaze with wrath. She didn't even bother wearing her mask. She had a job to do, and for Zabuza-sama's life, she would be willing to do anything. Team 7 stood in her way, already urging Tazuna and the others to get as far back as they could. It's you, Sasuke drifted off. You're Zabuza's accomplice. Yes. Haku's voice had a dangerous edge to it. I'm giving you guys a choice. Let me kill the bridge builder, and no one has to get hurt. Zabuza-sama. Why are you so hell-bent on killing Tazuna? Kiba exclaimed. Do you not understand what type of monster Gatau is? He is a tyrant, Haku announced. But he is also the only way Zabuza-sama gets out of this alive. I'm sorry, but... Before they could even react, Haku had determined the weak spot in their setup, appearing right behind Sakura. Sakura tried to block her punch, but Haku feinted the punch and grabbed Sakura's arm, spinning to hurl the pink-haired girl at Sasuke. Sasuke was stopped dead in his tracks as he slowed down to catch Sakura as they both flew back. Kiba tried to claw her face, which Haku ducked under, and stabbed a Saban needle right into his shoulder junction. His arm fell limp to his side as Akamaru tried to save his master, but Haku easily swerved around the dog's wild bite, shoving another needle into its neck. She kept spinning while drawing 2 more Saban needles, easily dodging his desperate swipe, and impaled her needles into his stomach and his neck. Kiba's eyes rolled to the back of his head as he dropped like a sack of potatoes. Kiba! Sakura yelled. Sasuke grit his teeth at how effortless she made it look. They had their work cut out for them. She wanted to take care of this one first, an altogether weak shinobi that had decent firepower when using his trump card. Haku always was a calculating person, approaching any combat situation with the same precision she used with her Saban needles, and she would make good use of the intel she had gathered watching them fight the first time. The girl of the team had no combat abilities to worry about, and the Uchiha would be her hardest opponent. If she neutralized this one fast, then the Uchiha would have no one for backup inside her ice dome. It was over. I didn't kill him, Uchiha. Haku tried to reason with them one more time. No blood has to be spilled today. Give me the bridge builder, and you can all live. I don't care for the bridge builder much, Sasuke replied, voice grim. Sasuke-kun? But you promised me we were going to see whose ninja way is stronger, right? Sasuke questioned, a distressed tinge in his voice. I want to find out. Very well, but I'm afraid I don't have much time to waste on you. Haku sped through some hand seals. Hijitsu, Makio Hyosho. Secret technique, demonic mirroring ice crystals. Sasuke and Sakura were entrapped inside a huge dome sculpted out of ice mirrors floating in the air. Haku stood as unflinching as ever, reflected amongst the numerous mirrors surrounding them. Pulling out a kunai to defend themselves, they waited for the storm. The reflections of Haku shifted as she moved while Sasuke desperately tried to discern which one was the real one. He got 3 Saban needles jammed into his back for his troubles. He didn't even see her move. Sasuke-kun! Sakura made a mad dash for the object of her affections, leaving her completely vulnerable, and Sasuke could only watch in abject horror as the Haku from the top left mirror began to move and prepare a handful of Saban. Wait, how did he dash? He could see the two Tomo of his Sharingan world as it predicted what Haku's next move would be, his body already responding before he even processed everything. Stopping right in front of Sakura, Sasuke easily deflected the 5 Saban needles with deft swipes of his kunai, without a single wasted movement. I can see. Sasuke smirked, his bloodline has been awakened. Humph. Sakura felt a surge of confidence. You don't stand a chance against Sasuke-kun now. And your true strength unlocks because you wanted to protect someone. Haku commented absent-mindedly. I suppose you were right, Haku. Protecting the people precious to you, nothing drives someone more than that. Sasuke considered. But everyone I've ever loved is dead. There's nothing left for me but revenge, and closure. There was a moment where no one moved, a stasis in the heat of the battle. Katan, Gokakyu no Jutsu. Fire release, great fireball technique. Sasuke broke the silence with his patented fireball, pouring an absurd amount of chakra into his technique. Haku didn't even bother to dodge as the gargantuan fireball harmlessly bounced off her ice mirrors. It would take a much stronger flame to melt them. TCH. I don't have anything capable of destroying her mirrors, so I have to catch her on the move. Haku blurred out of his sight, switching to another mirror seamlessly while throwing more needles at him. Sasuke managed to deflect most of them, but he had to take some hits he could have dodged if Sakura wasn't right behind him. He would not win a battle of attrition like this, and Sasuke glared at her general direction while he brought out a handful of shuriken. A tentative plan forming in his head, Sasuke knew the mirrors were her ultimate defense. However, just as nothing could get in, nothing could get out, she would always travel to another mirror when throwing her Saban needles. She couldn't attack while inside the mirrors, and that transition period of transferring between mirrors was her glaring weakness. There was no such thing as a perfect technique. Haku darted out of her mirror once again, but this time Sasuke could track her. He threw out his own shuriken, and Haku was surprised to find that he had thrown them very off-target. His shuriken whirled past her while her Saban stayed true to their mark, a couple of more needles impaling the Uchiha. The shuriken kept spinning and converged to a point behind her, the impact of the force scattering the shuriken back to her. Haku was caught completely unaware as 2 shuriken dug their way into her back and upper thigh. She grunted in pain and hastily entered one of her mirrors. Not fast enough, her reduced mobility allowed Sasuke to ascertain exactly which mirror she was hiding in. Katan, Gokakyu no Jutsu. Fire release, great fireball technique. Haku waited for the fireball to dissipate, not too worried he knew exactly where he was. However, it didn't last for long as she heard the familiar whirl of Sasuke's shuriken make its way to her from the cover of the fireball, and as the steam cleared, Sasuke was holding onto a wire that wrapped around the mirror she was in. Katan, Ryuka no Jutsu. Fire release, dragon fire technique. The flames blazed through the wire, trapping her inside her ice mirror with a swirling inferno around her. It's over. Sasuke spoke, hands pulling on the wire to keep it taut. Haku took a deep breath and jumped out of her mirror, the ring of fire burning most of her torso and back as she threw multiple Saban needles in a sacrificial final move, all of them targeting a lethal spot. Sasuke's hands were occupied as he could only watch the needles travel in slow motion. However, to his surprise, Sakura jumped in front of him, and Sasuke couldn't tear his eyes away from the brutal scene of Sakura essentially turning into a pincushion right in front of him. Sakura! Sasuke screamed as he ran up to her body. Haku's burning body fell to the ground as the ice mirrors dissolved around them. Sasuke-kun, Sakura whispered weakly, a Saban needle wedged in her neck as well. Did we win? Yeah, Sakura. We won, you're safe now. Sasuke's voice was quiet. Sakura sputtered as the dire situation bolstered her courage. You were wrong, Sasuke-kun. What? When you said all that's left for you is revenge, you were wrong. You can always create new bonds and allow others into your heart. You're not replacing your family, Sasuke-kun, just building a larger one. Sasuke was alarmed when Sakura started coughing. Stop talking. Save your strength, you idiot. Sakura reached up to cup his cheek, and he didn't have the heart to stop her. You're already one of my precious people, Sasuke-kun. I hope, one day, you'll feel the same. You're not quite what I expected. The Rabi was curious. I expected the Kyuubi taking over, or even a blind fit of rage. Nah, I'm not the fox. Naruto smirked. I'm the yin to his yang. How interesting. Two monsters faced each other, the colossal forces of their chakra saturating the air around them, exerting an ungodly pressure. Never really got to come out like this. Naruto continued. Let's see what our body can do. Naruto blurred out of sight, appearing behind the Rabi with his clawed hand outstretched, an extension of red chakra in each of his fingers. A hand shot out of the worm's body to meet him, and Naruto simply swiped down, severing the tentacle clean off. Concentrating chakra into his tails, Naruto rolled forward into a front flip, whipping his tails down as the fierce winds generated pushed the Rabi into the ground. Naruto landed on the prone serpent, hacking away with his clawed hands. The Rabi discharged a wave of dark energy to blast the Jinchuriki away from it, its body slowly regenerating. It's futile, Naruto. I will always have an unlimited source of energy from the darkness in your heart. So, all I gotta do is make sure there's nothing left to regenerate from. Naruto's crazed grin returned. Got it. Naruto charged forward once again, but this time the Rabi was prepared for it. A multitude of purple chakra arms shot out to grab him, and Naruto used the Shunshin to make his body go even faster. Some of the jutsu his counterpart was learning was indeed very handy, he mused. An intricate dance followed. Naruto was way too fast in the state to be grabbed by the Rabi. The Pseudobiju became increasingly more frantic in its efforts to grab Naruto, as he slowly closed the distance. As soon as he did, Naruto started flashing all around its body with the Shunshin, tearing into the monster's flesh with each strike. The Rabi howled as it was slowly being butchered. It tried to desperately expel another wave of dark chakra, but Naruto pumped even more chakra into his arm to increase its size. He punched the dark purple wave, which instantly dissipated on contact. Taking full advantage of this opening, Naruto lifted the Rabi with his engorged arm, turning sideways to decapitate the creature with a clean swing of his tails. He threw its head onto the floor, stepping on it as he gathered an enormous amount of Biju chakra in his right arm. The black and purple molecules coalesced into a sphere in his palm, and Naruto had a dark grin on his face as he squeezed. Concentrating the in-natured chakra of the Kyuubi inside him, Naruto molded and reformed the dense ball of chakra. It transformed into a javelin, pitch black with spikes jutting out of its sides. Impossible, the Rabi squirmed, its detached body desperately trying to slither over to the head. You shouldn't have this much power. Sayonara. Naruto laughed as he threw the javelin point blank on its mask. The javelin impaled the mask and kept going, digging the Rabi 30 feet into the ground while Naruto jumped far away. The javelin seemed to glow for a second before expanding into a massive dark red sphere of destruction, everything within it being incinerated out of existence. The deafening roar of the explosion racked the mountain, producing a shockwave that rung out for miles. Naruto smirked before his step faltered, falling to his knees. So, this is the limit to how much our body can take. Naruto grimaced, slowly losing control. As the last flickers of the red chakra died out, Yami Naruto closed his eyes, only opening them after most of his body reformed inside their mindscape. He was greeted by an all too familiar face. Who the hell are you? Naruto growled. The past few minutes had been a blur. The last thing the Jinchuriki remembered was being impaled by multiple tentacles, and before he knew it, he was transported to the sewer that holds the Kyuubi. Only this time, the Kyuubi's cage was nowhere to be found, and he could not leave this place at will. You know exactly who I am. Yami Naruto grinned. I'm you and you're me. We are Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto could only stare at disbelief as he took in the features of this being. The bizarre experience of talking to oneself was usually reserved for the clinically insane, and finding yourself in this situation was the stuff of nightmares. The only features that truly distinguished the two were the sinister red hue of his mirror image's eyes and the maniacal grin he perpetually wore. What's the matter, partner? His counterpart taunted, feigning concern. If you just keep standing around with that dumb look on your face, I'll kill you. Naruto could tell he meant it. Partner? How long have you been here? I'm not too sure myself, time flows much differently in here. Naruto tried to process everything that was happening as his mind went into overdrive, thinking about the implications of this revelation. Was he insane? Was this thing truly a part of him like it claimed? Or was this all Kyuubi's doing, a trick? Suddenly, he remembered the dire situation Team 10 was in. Are Ino and Shikamaru alright? Yep. Yami Naruto popped the pea. Took care of everything, since you couldn't. Naruto didn't know what to say to that. You have so much power deep inside you, waiting for a purpose. Yet you let that weakling stab us 8 times, let it almost crush Ino into a pulp. That power isn't mine. It's the Kyuubi's. Ha, you're pathetic. This power is a part of you because you are a Jinchuriki, no matter how much you lie to yourself. All you have to do is reach out and take it. Even if I lose myself in the process? Relying on the Kyuubi doesn't make you strong, you bastard. It makes you weak, Naruto declared resolutely. Keep thinking like that and you'll get yourself and all your friends killed. Honestly, you're so full of yourself. His demonic parallel scoffed. You have the power of a beige at your fingertips, but you still don't try to use it or even understand it. Don't you see? No. Naruto locked his fierce gaze with his counterpart. I will become strong on my own. You're going to come crawling back to me anyways. Yami Naruto grinned, unperturbed at his response. When you've used this power countless times just to survive, really think about it. About what? Who's the king and who's the horse here? Haku laid immobile on the ground, every cell in her body screaming in pain. She could feel the burns spreading throughout her torso. That final move was her last gambit. She did not stand a chance anymore against a relatively unharmed Uchiha. She watched him cradle the pink-haired girl's body as Sakura slowly drifted out of consciousness. She got lucky. Haku spoke quietly. None of the Saban hit her vital points. Sasuke looked down at the prone ice user, a miserable expression on her face. Kill me, Uchiha. Haku's destitute voice rang out. I have no purpose anymore. What do you mean? Zabuza-sama took me in when no one else wanted me, not even my parents. They wanted to have me killed for my ability to use our bloodline. He gave me a reason to live, and my only purpose in life was to serve him. Now, he will die because I failed him. Please, Uchiha. Sasuke. He intervened. Uchiha Sasuke is my name. Yuki Haku. She smiled. He wanted them to know each other, at the very least. His first real test as a shinobi, Haku had shifted his perspective and allowed him to see things from a new lens. It'd be a damn shame to snuff out her fire before ever learning her name. He slowly walked up to her, kunai poised, while Haku closed her eyes. She could finally rest after so long. I knew you weren't good for anything, girl. A snobby voice screamed from the other side of the bridge. When Zabuza went down, I lost all faith in you too. It's a good thing I had a plan B. Gatau smirked as he was flanked by a good 30 mercenaries of his own, each of them sporting cruel grins. Obviously, they thought the remaining shinobi would be easy pickings, and Gatau had waited until the battle was almost over to ensure his victory. The smug, confident smirk on his face was downright slimy, as he gloated even further. I was never even looking for a healer for your master, girl. Gatau taunted. Never trust a businessman. Haku slowly rose from the ground, wincing as the burns on her body protested heavily. Her eyes were devoid of emotion, cold, black orbs of death stared at Gatau. He was never going to help her. All of this was for nothing. Zabuza-sama was going to meet his end due to the machinations of this disgusting excuse of a human being. No, Gatau. Haku's voice had that dangerous edge again, and Sasuke shivered. Never cross a shinobi. Sensatsu Susho. 1,000 flying water needles of death. Gatau's smug smile turned into one of abject horror, staring wide-eyed at his impending doom. His men had tried to block whatever they could, but these were just regular bandits. The desperate cries of the men around him grew louder and louder, and every single one of them was skewered through in multiple places. It wasn't long before 20 or so needles left holes in Gatau's body, rivulets of blood slowly dripping from each of them as he dropped to his knees. Sasuke and Haku watched them all die in silence. What are you going to do now, Haku? Zabuza-sama never had a chance. All of this was for nothing. A tear fell from her eye. I have to go back and be with him through his dying moments. It's the least I could do. Haku blurred out of his sight, intent on making her way back to their base as fast as she could. Running on pure adrenaline, her body was screaming for her to stop, and she fought to keep herself awake. It wasn't long before she entered the cave that was their makeshift home. Zabuza-sama? Haku, he was delirious. His wound had become infected. Water. She brought him a glass of water, tilting it so he could drink. I failed you, master. She couldn't hold back the tears as the floodgates opened, but she was shocked when Zabuza cupped her cheek and wiped her tears away. I can feel it, Haku. Zabuza's voice was calm. I'm going to die soon. Haku howled. Zabuza hushed soothingly as he brought her close, hugging her to the uninjured side of his chest. You were never just a tool, Haku. Haku stopped crying to look at her master in the eyes. You were like the daughter I never had. Zabuza started crying as well. I wanted to give you the world, and it pissed me off having to work for slime bags like Gatau just to survive. Zabuza started coughing up blood as Haku wailed. Save your strength, Zabuza-sama. Please don't leave me. Listen to me, Zabuza's tone became serious. You're not going to survive on your own here, and you certainly can't go back to Mist with the purges still going strong. Go to the Konoha shinobi as their prisoner. Konoha loves their bloodlines. They will eventually accept you. But what about you, Zabuza-sama? I'm dying, Haku. Zabuza reminded her. Please honor my dying wish. Haku nuzzled her face into his chest again, the tears returning in full force. Say, Haku. Zabuza could feel his life force fading. Were you happy with me? Yes, you were the father I wish I had. I'm glad. With a smile on his face, Momoichi Zabuza took his last breath. Asuma was stuck in a fierce deadlock with the man who had ambushed them. The seemingly frail old man transformed into a much younger form with the use of his jutsu. His mass had increased twofold, bulging muscles ripping open his shirt, and his graying, loose hair turned back into a long, black mane. He could regenerate from any wound Asuma would inflict on him, and his hits packed quite the punch. Coupled with his ability to use an absurd form of dark chakra, he was a formidable opponent. Asuma ducked under the man's punch, springing up with his trench knives raring to go. The man dodged a couple of swipes before he jumped, bringing his left foot down in an axe kick. Asuma rolled forward under him, turning with his trench knives jutted out. The man leaned back to dodge as he gathered a dark orb of chakra with 2 rings in his hand, and Asuma lunged forward with a stab. The man let himself get stabbed as he lunged forward, a maniacal grin on his face. Cho Kasikan. Super Revival Fist. Asuma had no chance to dodge as he took it right in his chest, the orb exploding upon contact and scorching his skin. The man grinned as he went through some hand seals, and a burst of dark chakra shot through his body. Nikutai Kasei no Jutsu. Body Revival Technique. His muscles morphed and shifted like sinewy strands of string as the hole in his stomach gradually closed, and he was as good as new. Asuma shook his head in exasperation at this infuriating shinobi he was fighting. Asuma was the better fighter without a doubt, and he had connected on some solid blows, life-threatening ones for any regular man. However, this mysterious stranger was willing to trade those lethal strikes with good hits of his own, willing to play this game of attrition. Suddenly, an explosion of malicious chakra monopolized their attention, both of them pausing their fight. Naruto. Asuma was very concerned. Something has pushed him to use the Kyuubi's chakra. I have to wrap this up. Oh? The man was intrigued. Those are not regular kids. A Jinchuriki? What's in that mountain? The Rabi. The man grinned. A beast that feeds on the malicious feelings of others. With it under my control, I have an unending supply of power. You really shouldn't have let those kids go in there alone. They're probably dead by now. Suddenly, the man's smile faltered as he collapsed to his knees, feeling his source of energy leave him. As if a flip was switched, the man began to age in front of Asuma's eyes, his muscles shrinking and his hair wilting away into thin, white strands. The weak old man stared at his hands, not able to comprehend what had happened. Impossible, the man's voice shook. The Rabi was killed? Asuma slowly walked up to the man, his guard up in case this was a trick. The man's fearful eyes turned to him, pleading for his life as Asuma brought up his trench knives. In one swift move, the man's head was detached from his body as it rolled on the ground, his mouth open in a silent scream. He wasted no time in entering the mountain, rushing through the corridors and entering the room. The shock of the scene in front of him rooted him to his spot, multiple people floating in vats of liquid, Ino and Shikamura prone on the ground, unmoving. Naruto's collapsed form in the middle of this huge crater. His jacket had been burned, skin from his chest and arm almost peeled off, leaving an angry red tint. What happened here? He quickly formed a couple of shadow clones and booked it out of there with his genin on his shoulders. As soon as he left, however, a mysterious man walked in. Wearing a white and black robe, his skin seemed otherworldly pale, and he took measured steps to the crater. There was a weird creature riding on his shoulder, a black bipedal animal that was about as large as his arm. It had glowing red eyes with black slits and a brilliant smile of pearly white teeth. What are we doing here? The creature asked. The man reached up to pet the creature's head before speaking. There was this mysterious source of chakra here. Don't see nothing. Yeah, but you can't see what I can. Man, we just killed Kagaya's remnant like a month ago. We should still be celebrating with some good booze and loose women. Not out here, chasing mysterious sources of chakra. The creature mocked his previous words. It's absolutely terrifying that you transform into a human and deceive those poor girls. The man gave him the side eye. That's just not right. The creature only smirked in response. The man focused as he watched small particles of dark orbs oh so slowly start to reform, coalescing into a white mask. I knew that didn't kill it completely. The man stared curiously. The man stretched out his arm, and he slowly absorbed the remnants of the chakra. Humanity will always fight each other to gain access to powers like this. The man spoke calmly. Especially after my plans come to fruition. It's best I take care of these sources early on. Yeah, I know. The beast waved him off. You done yet? Just about. Suddenly, both of them heard a commotion outside, as the villagers started to pile into the hole in the mountain. He watched with detached focus as people came rushing in to free their loved ones, their hysterical, happy cries ringing out through the room. His job done, the man started walking towards the crowd, passing by them without notice as nobody even gave him a glance. It was as if he wasn't even there. It had been almost a week since the confrontation with Haku, and Team 7 watched the last brick being laid on the bridge. The villagers rejoiced as they had finally escaped from the cruel clutches of Gatau, his body still hanging on a pike as a public spectacle. They were at Tazuna's house, gearing up to go back to Konoha when they noticed a familiar figure slowly walk up to them. What are you doing here? Kiba yelled, ready to fight at a moment's notice. Haku went down to her knees as she raised her hands in the pose of surrender. I mean you no harm. Zabuza-sama has instructed me to be taken as your prisoner. Why should we not just kill you right here? Kakashi questioned casually, as if he was asking about the weather. My loyalty does not belong to Mist, the land that tried to purge me for simply existing. It was solely to Zabuza-sama, and he has passed that over to you. We can't trust her, Kakashi-sensei. Kiba exclaimed, his ire apparent for the kunoichi who almost killed him within seconds. Furthermore, Haku continued, I have some intel that Konoha would very much like to know. What type of intel? Kakashi perked up. It's more of a suspicion than anything else. But I promise to cooperate if you take me with you. Very well. Kakashi acquiesced. Sasuke, bind her limbs. Sasuke brought out some of his wires as he looked into her eyes, wondering what was going on. Hello again, Sasuke. Haku smiled. I wonder what Konoha is like. Are the bindings really necessary? Naruto found himself bound to a chair, face to face with Yamanaka Inoichi, the head of the Konoha TNI division and Ino's father. It's just a precaution, Naruto. Inoichi gave him a kind smile. We do it to everyone who goes through this process. You're going in there, right? Yes, but I promise I won't be too invasive. This is just a psych eval. I won't look through your memories or anything, just going to check out what your mindscape is like. Naruto hesitated, unsure on how to broach the subject. You won't be alone in there. What do you mean? Like besides the Kyuubi? Naruto wouldn't answer, obviously uncomfortable sharing anymore, and Inoichi put a hand on Naruto's head. Psycho Denshin. Psycho Mind Transmission. Inoichi closed his eyes as the familiar sensation of using the technique swept over him. He was not entirely sure what he had expected to find, and Naruto's hesitation to explain the details told him that this psych eval would be anything but routine. He caught himself musing over details that he considered unprofessional, mainly the Hokage's insistence on having him perform the evaluation and the subject's relationship with his daughter. Nothing Ino had told him made him think Naruto was necessarily a flight risk or a danger to Konoha, but shinobi were experts in hiding their true intentions. Furthermore, the incident that occurred during their C-rank turned A-rank mission did not exactly inspire confidence. There was only one way to find out. Within moments, the Mind Walker found himself in a dark room, quite large by his estimation. It seemed as though he truly was not welcome here, as the host had gone out of his way to shield Naruto's true mindscape from him. Whatever was down here did not appreciate uninvited guests. However, as his eyes adjusted to his surroundings, he could slowly make out the visage of another person in the center of the room, slightly illuminated by light which had no discernible source. Before the clan head could break the silence, the being looked at him, his eyes and fangs shining like flares in the dark room as a malicious grin overtook his features. Inoichi could only stare in abject horror as his consciousness was flooded by the full spectrum of negative emotions: hatred, wrath, bitterness, loneliness. The Kyuubi's demonic presence paled in comparison, and Inoichi could tell his life was in danger. Boo! Snapping his hand off of Naruto's head, Inoichi instinctively took a step back. He attempted to ignore the sweat already forming on his forehead, as he focused on Naruto's startled face. He had felt the Kyuubi's presence before, but this was different. Judging by Naruto's reaction, he had not been responsible for what just happened. The Mind Walker was not sure if that was a good thing. It was obvious from the grave expression on Naruto's face that he knew just about as much as he did. Clearly at a loss for words, the older blonde was debating what his next move should be. He knew trying to enter Naruto's mindscape again would be unwise, knowing he would not be so lucky a second time. Letting out a deep breath, the clan head finally spoke. What was that? I don't know. Another silence took hold of the room as Inoichi's suspicions were confirmed. Moving towards the Jinchuriki, he started undoing the bindings that rendered the fellow blonde immobile. Inoichi was certain the Hokage would not be happy with what he had to say. I see. I'll be back in a few minutes, just sit tight for now, the clan head replied, his expression neutral. However, Naruto could easily see through Inoichi's mask. The older blonde was clearly rattled and just as confused as he was. Naruto could only guess what he would tell the Sandaime. Inoichi had a million thoughts going through his head as he made the trek to the Hokage's office. As soon as he entered, the Hokage took on a grim expression and dismissed his hidden umbu, urging Inoichi to speak. There's something else there, Inoichi began tentatively. Another presence beside the Kyuubi. It took on the form of Naruto. What does that mean? It could be that it is a manifestation of the Kyuubi, or more likely, Naruto has a split personality. Jiraiya? The Hokage beckoned. What's your take on this? A tall man with spiky white hair stretching down to his legs spoke, his expression just as dire. I've never heard of a bijou manifesting another version of the host. Even in their mindscape, they exist as a separate entity with their original appearance. It's most likely a split personality. I will add, however, Naruto is in no way a flight risk, Inoichi assured. This entity seems to operate on a different level than him, and my theory is that it takes over whenever Naruto accesses the Kyuubi chakra. It's probably more attuned with that power. I think it's best if you enter Naruto's life at this moment, Jiraiya, the Hokage urged. You're right. It's a bit sooner than I would have liked, but I have no other choice. Jiraiya agreed. Is that all, Inoichi? Hiruzen asked. That's all I could learn before it kicked me out of Naruto's head. I didn't think it would be safe to go back. Jiraiya started walking away, beckoning for Inoichi to follow him. Show me where the brat is. See ya, sensei. Inoichi bowed his head to the Hokage before turning to lead Jiraiya to Naruto. They walked in relative silence, wondering just what to do with what they had learned today. Inoichi couldn't help but worry about what this thing could do to his daughter if it ever got its hands on her. He was definitely going to warn her never to enter Naruto's mind. Thanks for taking me here, Inoichi, Jiraiya announced as they reached the room. I'll keep you updated. Inoichi nodded and took off. Apprehensively, Jiraiya wondered how Naruto would react. He would be lying if he said he didn't care about what Naruto thought of him. He felt a pang of guilt and regret well up in his chest, but shook it off. He couldn't just drop everything to raise the boy. Konoha needed him to do what he does best, which was impossible with a small child in his care. Who are you? Naruto asked when he opened the door. Jiraiya smirked as his eyes were shadowed behind his bangs. Listen carefully. Jiraiya began with exuberance, starting a kabuki dance. The title Frog Hermit is merely a disguise. I am the man who has no enemies in the north, south, east, and west. Not even in the heavens I am one of the Sannin. Even a crying baby would stare in awe. I am the great Jiraiya. I'm leaving. Hey! Show some goddamn respect, brat. Jiraiya was petulant. Most people usually fawn over my presence. Well, I'm not most people. Fine. How's about this, then? I will take you on as a student, Jiraiya offered. As one of the Sannin, there's a lot you can learn from me. Naruto actually perked up at this. Consider yourself lucky, brat. I don't choose students willy-nilly, and my last student went on to become the fourth Hokage. Ah, so that's the deal. Naruto's interest was crushed to a pulp, a bitter sense of resentment towards his father bubbling from within. Not interested. Nanny! Jiraiya exclaimed before he took a long, hard look at the boy. He was quite keen on becoming his student right before he had mentioned the fourth. You know, don't you? I don't know what you're talking about. Listen, kid. Jiraiya's tone became serious. I heard about what happened on your mission. If left unchecked, the Kyuubi's power will take over you more and more, and that thing inside of you will be unleashed. And who knows what'll happen next. Naruto looked away, knowing all too well nothing good will come of it. However you feel about your father, Jiraiya gave him a pointed look, knowing there was a mess of emotions there. I'm your best way to go about this situation. I can help you control it, keep it in check with my Fuinjutsu. No. I don't want to use the Kyuubi's chakra at all. If I'm going to be your student, you're going to help me become strong with my own power. Jiraiya gave him a proud smile, already gaining a sense of Naruto's character. Deal. When do we start? Right now. Before Naruto could process what was going on, Jiraiya grabbed him and reverse summoned him to the Toad Realms. Naruto blinked, not used to the strange sensation of being instantly transported somewhere, and he found himself in a lush forest filled to the brim with toads of all kinds. Ma! Pa! Jiraiya yelled. I brought someone! Jiraiya boy! A small green toad with white hair walked up to them, his voice surprisingly deep. And who is this? Naruto was still wearing off the shock of seeing a talking toad and spoke up. I'm Uzumaki Naruto. Pa! A shrill voice called from within a hut. Bring them over here so I can feed them some lunch. Those boys are probably starving. I could go for some food. Naruto shrugged, been a while since he last ate. Jiraiya face-palmed. Oh, you sweet summer child. Naruto took one look at the bug stew she was stirring and blanched. On second thought, I'm not so hungry. Nonsense. Growing boys need to eat. Ma, a lime green toad with purple hair, said. She served him a plate full of the stew, looking at him expectantly. Well? Naruto pinched his nose and took a bite, surprised at the flavor. This is kinda good. You like that stuff? Jiraiya was incredulous, retching at just seeing him eat the bugs. See, Jiraiya boy. Ma admonished. My cooking still tastes good, you can just never get over the fact that you're eating bugs. After a surprisingly hearty lunch, Naruto found himself outside again as Ma and Pa retrieved a large scroll from their house. He watched as they opened it, and noted the names inscribed on it, seeing his father's name right next to Jiraiya's. Naruto. Do you understand what it means to be a toad summoner? These toads aren't just weapons to be used in battle, they have a multitude of other niche uses. Furthermore, the toad summons are very friendly by nature, so I would encourage you to get to know them. They will be your partners for all the fights to come. I understand, Naruto spoke, considering the weight of Jiraiya's statement. Very well. The toads have wanted you to be their summoner since you were born, so go ahead and sign it. Naruto bit his thumb and signed his name in blood, taking care to be very precise. That's it. I'm a toad summoner now? Pretty much, but there's one more thing to do. Pa spoke up. Follow me, Naruto. Naruto followed the small toad's lead, slowly becoming aware of his status as one of the most respected toads. They passed various toads of all sorts of sizes as they walked, and every single one would pause to bow at Pa. Soon enough, they entered a large, grand room where a giant old red toad was sleeping. This is Gamamaru, the great toad sage. Pa informed. All new summoners must receive his blessing. Pa? That you? Gamamaru squinted. Yes, Gamamaru-sama. I brought a new summoner here today. His name is Uzumaki Naruto. The great toad sage squinted at Naruto, staring at him for an indeterminate amount of time. What did you say his name was? I'm Naruto, sir. The toad sage pondered. What was that? It's Naruto, Gamamaru-sama. Pa answered for him, aware of what the old toad was like. Ah, yes. Well, step forward so I can get a closer look at you. As Naruto walked closer, the old toad's eyes suddenly gained a shocking amount of lucidity as it looked over Naruto head to toe. This was no ordinary child, Gamamaru thought as he could feel the essence of a man who was once his own summoner. A man who he formed an unbreakable bond with 1,000 years ago, and he bore the same mark on his palm. Your hand, boy. The old toad continued. Do you know what that mark is? Naruto raised his left arm, staring at the white circle in his palm. No. Do you? The power to breathe life. Yang chakra in its purest form. As quick as it came, however, the great toad sage's lucidity vanished, and his eyes once again went blank. Who are you again? Naruto's sweat dropped. I'm Naruto, your new summoner? Ah, yes, Azura, right? No, my name is Naruto? How many times would he have to repeat the same thing? Yes, yes. Well, you have my blessing or whatever, the great Toad Sage said and promptly fell asleep again. Asuma found himself in training ground 10, waiting for his genin to arrive at the designated time. He had come a bit early, too preoccupied with the recent mission to really do anything else. He paused to light a cigarette as he let his mind wander. 3 days had passed since they returned from their C-rank turned A-rank mission, which went horribly wrong. His team had fought a pseudobija and lived to tell the tale for Kami's sake, and he couldn't help but wonder how his team was coping. They were on the verge of death, the whims of that monster the only reason Ino and Shikamaru were still drawing breath. Naruto, on the other hand, not only saved his teammates but beat that beast down into submission. Added on to the fact, Naruto had tapped into the Kyuubi chakra, and there was apparently this malicious presence inside of Naruto. He hadn't the faintest idea what this relatively unknown player could be up to, but he could tell it was nothing good. He frowned when he noticed his cigarette was already done, his hands already going through the motions to light another one. These kids would be the death of him. He hasn't stress smoked this much in years. He noticed Ino and Shikamaru entering the training ground, their steps slow and unsure, and their demeanor subdued. He couldn't blame them, really. A mission like that takes a toll on even the toughest of shinobi. It was never a fun experience to realize your own mortality. Shikamaru was downright angry at how useless he had been in that fight, vowing to take this mission as a harsh lesson. He needed to step up or step off, and this lazy, carefree persona of his just wouldn't cut it in the real world. Not when monsters like that lurked in the shadows of a seemingly innocuous little village. Furthermore, he was even more confused about his teammate, who had brushed seemingly mortal wounds to come back and kill that thing. How was that possible? Ino, on the other hand, wasn't furious. She had a resigned acceptance as to what really happened in that scenario. She should be dead right now. If Naruto hadn't jumped in the way, she couldn't complete the thought, the image of her being skewered like meat way too horrifying. She had seen what type of abomination they were facing, and she couldn't comprehend how Naruto had the power to defeat it. Hey sensei. Ino and Shikamaru chorused. Hey yourself? Asuma paused to look them over. How are you guys feeling? You guys are all healed up, right? Ino and Shikamaru nodded as they took a seat beside him, waiting for their teammate. As if on cue, Naruto walked in, giving them a slight wave. Hey guys. Naruto! Ino exclaimed. I'm so glad you're okay. I haven't seen you since. She knew he was all right. They had told her so when she woke up in the hospital. Seeing it with her own eyes, though, was another matter entirely. Yeah, Naruto trailed off. Did you guys heal okay? Asuma smiled at his team. They were still a bit rough around the edges, but it showed that they had been a squad for a little over a month now. Their tentative chemistry seemed to be strengthened by the life-altering experience they had shared, and he could see the camaraderie in the way they looked at each other. Maybe, just maybe, he was doing a good job after all. Alright, Team 10. Asuma cut into their small talk. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. We just went through some shit together, and it's best at times like these to take a step back and just take a breather. On that note, you guys have the week off to just recuperate, digest everything, and whatever else in between. Team 10 was surprised at the news, but they weren't one to look a gift horse in the mouth. I'm still here, of course. Asuma continued. If any of you guys want to stop by and talk, my door is always open to you three. Thanks, sensei. Ino shot him a smile. Asuma nodded as he paused to look over his genin like a wary dad would watch his children, and he shook his head to rid himself of those negative thoughts. His kids would be just fine, and if they weren't, he'd be there every step of the way. He would make sure of it. Alright, you're dismissed. Asuma waved at them before disappearing. Naruto started walking away as soon as Asuma left, which Ino and Shikamaru were very much accustomed to. However, they were surprised when Naruto stopped to turn back at them, seemingly struggling to speak up. I'm probably still going to be training every morning like usual, Naruto announced. It's just a part of my routine, so feel free to join me whenever. Both of them could hear the statement Naruto was truly trying to convey, even if he couldn't directly voice it himself for whatever reason. I'm here too if you need it. He gave them a small, sincere smile as he turned around and walked away. Knock knock. Naruto slowly opened his eyes as the incessant pounding at his door awoke him from his slumber. Not bothering to put on a shirt, he rubbed the sleep out of his eyes as he made his way to the door. He never gets visitors, especially this late at night. He opened the door and saw Ino standing there with a casserole in her hands, wearing adorable little mittens. Ino? Naruto was confused. What are you doing here? Ino definitely wasn't expecting this. She found herself trailing the defined pecs of her teammate down to his surprisingly well-defined abs, mentally counting how many were visible. Her cheeks gained a slight reddish tint as she started going lower, and her mind started filling in the blanks. Suddenly, she snapped out of it, mortified at where her thoughts were going. Hey, Naruto! I cooked some pie for you as like a thanks for saving my life, I guess. She mentally winced at how awkward she was being. Can I come in? Ino asked, trying to look over his shoulder. Oh yeah, of course. Naruto stepped aside to let her in. Ino took in Naruto's apartment for the first time in her life, noticing just how neat he kept the place. His place consisted of a standard kitchen/living room set paired with a nice leather couch facing a large TV. The living room extended into a balcony where she could overlook most of Konoha. Right beside the TV were 2 doors, which probably led to his bedroom and the bath. So, this was Naruto's home. She had half expected him to be a slob and was pleasantly surprised to see the opposite, and she was also surprised at the wide variety of plants stationed all around house. She set the pie down on his kitchen counter and started walking around, observing each and every single one of his plants. Wow, you really know what you're doing, Ino commented, impressed at how lively each of his plants looked. Naruto was rather annoyed she had made herself at home so easily, but he couldn't stay mad at her for long. Yeah, been doing this for 5 years now. Wait a minute! Ino exclaimed, pointing at a particular pot. Is that a cannabis plant? Yep. Naruto smirked. Naruto! Do you do drugs? No, you idiot. Naruto chided. It's more of a side hustle for me. You won't believe what someone will pay for some of these, especially if you know how to process it. All of my neighbors moved out as well, so it's literally the perfect sting. She couldn't help but laugh at the smug face he wore through his explanation. Her expression suddenly became pensive as she walked out to the balcony, soaking in the view. A gentle breeze flowed past them, cooling their skin and minds, and Naruto could tell something was bothering Ino. He waited patiently for her to start talking. I really am grateful to you, you know. Ino began, her voice thick with emotion. Ino? Naruto could tell she was on the verge of tears. When you stepped in front of that attack, a selfish part of me was glad I was alive. But when I saw what you really had to go through to do it, I was terrified. Terrified you had died trying to save me. She was full on crying now. And I just felt so helpless, watching you slowly bleed out onto the floor. Then, Shikamaru got knocked out as well, and I thought there's no way I'm getting out of here alive. Naruto reached forward to pull her into a tight embrace, stroking her hair to calm her down. He could feel his skin get increasingly wet from her tears as she nuzzled her face into his chest, and Naruto didn't have the words to explain the way his heart leapt out of his chest for her. As the thing was squeezing the life out of me, and I saw the pain in your eyes. I wanted to make it all go away, but I knew I didn't have the strength to do so. I felt so pathetic. I don't know how you defeated that thing, and I don't really need to know. But I'm so glad you did. I'm so glad you're alive. Naruto trailed off as she looked up into his eyes. Naruto couldn't speak. It felt like his mind was overheating and shutting down when she gave him that look. He just wanted to wipe her tears away, and he was surprised to see his hands had automatically reached up to cup her cheeks and do so. She closed her eyes at his touch and opened them when he withdrew his arms and let them fall limp to his sides. He didn't really know what was going on, but he knew one thing for a fact: he hated seeing her cry. I won't ever be able to truly understand what you're feeling right now. Naruto tried to come up with anything to make her feel better. But you don't have to let it weigh on you like this. I jumped in front of you because I wanted to. I knew that if that hit you, there's no way you'd survive. And I don't exactly know why, but I couldn't imagine my world without you. He had no idea where this